It's dead, Jim. Well, got some interesting news over the weekend. We got a new trailer today. And Andre has a strange burning sensation between his toes he can't quite place, but he will find it before the end of the show. How you doing, kids? Welcome. Monday morning here on the internet. We have the boss man Andre with us. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Not too happy about the Star Trek news, but I just saw the Venom trailer. That cheered me up.
Yeah, we just lost 150 subs or viewers for some reason.
I noticed that there was a glitch there. You disappeared there for a second, so there's something weird with the internet, or something is going on.
Yeah,
something just
CBS
happened there.
Is fucking with us already, probably.
Yeah, maybe someone is. Because I heard you disappeared, and boom, half the viewers gone. But hopefully they'll just hit the refresh and be back again.
Hopefully, we're getting some back. But in the meantime, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well, considering the news we got this weekend. I wish I could say I was a bit surprised, but I don't think I'm that surprised. But we'll get into all that, like you just said.
Yeah, we will. We will indeed.
There was carnage this weekend, that's for sure.
There was, in every sense of the word.
So, to answer the age-old question, is Hollywood really that stupid? Yes.
Yeah, they are. It's a town where they say no one knows anything, and they're not joking when they say that. So yeah, but before we get into any of the news, let's see what you all have to say in the chat. Rob Altis is here, and he doesn't have a lot of hope for his entertainment. Fimlash is of the opinion that it can all be burned down. Natasha, our ever-loyal wrench, reminds everyone to subscribe and join the channel, and we support that message. Kobe has some new rule about him, and really has the power. So yeah, good luck for that. He says, Andra, I have. Oh yeah, fantastic. One thing, it's all the others.
Yeah, you're like, really. I don't know if it's just me. Is it just me, kids, or is it you guys?
No, it's me. I see it here. Okay. It's like
yeah, I'll read this thing. Cobra Khan 007 says, Andra, I have the power, confirmed. Yeah, I heard some about that. Well, I'm sure we'll get into that nonsense too.
Oh yes, we will.
This is the week that just wouldn't stop, and it's like it's out to kill us or something. It's like, if there was a week,
I think there's quite this one. I think we might be talking about longer time periods than just a week, but yeah, it might be slightly topped up here.
Ever since Motu, it's just been like, can we beat these people any more than they already have? No? Okay, well, let's try.
Yeah. And our good friend Mike, who may be busy at the office, he also says we lost like 200 peeps and the screen flickered. So yeah, something is up with the interwebs. But hopefully I'm back and sounding slightly less like a robot than I usually do.
YouTube's probably fucking with us.
Well, I don't think it's just us, but yeah.
Anyway, so we're Alex Kurtzman's worst nightmare. Of course, he's probably celebrating today, so fuck him.
Oh, of course. And, well, he's had much misery over Star Trek as well, so I guess it all adds up. Darth Maul wonders, last week you had news about Star Trek. Was this it? And yeah, as you may recall, we said we had heard some rumblings about Star Trek, and we didn't say that it was good news, but we weren't sure exactly what. We just heard the rumblings, and yeah, this was it. This was indeed it.
Yeah, this has been something I've been afraid of ever since I heard Kurtzman kind of had hijacked Strange New Worlds.
And also, since I heard it referred to that several people within CBS, for some reason, view Kurtzman as their savior.
Well, I think we have
So
the answers now. It's three of the top fucking people in CBS Paramount. That's why
yeah.
he's kissing the cheeks of Cheeks.
Well, he is a politician, and this is what we have said before. If you just think back to who really made it, well, it was the duo of Orsi and Kurtzman, and of the two, Orsi was the talent, Kurtzman was the politician.
Yeah.
And you can kind of like see who has made it and who's no longer really in the industry that much.
We will definitely get into that soon. As far as somebody said something about you getting a new mic. It wasn't Andre's mic, it was the internet real quick. There
Yeah,
was like this
exactly.
major glitch in the internet real quick. Like it seemed like that.
I think that what I had was probably the same glitch that you had, only with a time difference. It
Just
takes
took a
some
little bit
travel
of
to Japan.
wave,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But we'll definitely break down this Star Trek news this morning. There is maybe a few points we need to get into. We've got a Venom trailer. There's a little bit of He-Man news and a whole lot more. When it rains, it pours. We haven't had news for like 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's just...
Yeah, too bad none of them are any good.
Yeah, a lot of it's bad news outside of maybe the Venom trailer, which
Yeah, that was good. I
you
liked it.
sounded more excited than I did. But I've been telling people have been bugging me for all week. Where's the Spider-Man trailer? Where's the Spider-Man trailer? Where's Spider-Man? I said, we're getting the Venom trailer before we get a Spider-Man trailer. And sure as shit, I was going to say it's coming today, but we already got it this morning because I found this out last night. So no big surprise there. But my guess is we won't get a Spider-Man trailer probably until Venom drops because Sony is not going to want to take too much attention away from that right now. And you guys got to remember, we live in this really isolated world now when it comes to these movies, and they were already shrinking the window for trailers and advertisements. With this thing, don't expect anything any more than a month out. Like they're not going to try and spend any more money than they have to right now on advertising these films. Like Black Widow is the exception. Maybe I think that they did like a major push with that one. The only other one is maybe Fast 9, I remember this year.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think they've done any normal campaigns. Just
Yeah,
Black
and I
Widow
see
and
no
Fast 9,
reason
yeah.
to, because it's still not a normal situation. But before we get into the details here of everything that's broken the last couple of days since the previous time we were on, which was
We got some super
Friday. Well, that feels long ago. Yeah, we have some super chats, and beginning with those that we can get up on screen. So in reverse chronological order, we have Michael MacLeod, who says for $10. At this point, CBS and Paramount have brought it upon themselves. Yes, indeed, they have. Unfortunately, it's like 3-4 idiots at the top that have been sucked in, and the entirety of the rest of the corporation is going to have to suffer for it. So we'll see how long the board will stand for it. But I don't expect Kurtzman to suddenly develop talent. So there's going to be plenty of people that will have to lose their jobs when his upcoming projects all fail like Clarice did. Radio Man 1017 says it's time to fight back. Ratio everything they put out, not just genre. Stop buying anything from them. Cancel all streaming services. That's for absolutely one thing you can do. But what I will say, though, is that it's actually far more efficient if you are selective, if you signal boost the things which are good and you actually support those things, because that is how you send a message. If you support the things that you do like and you want to see more of, and you don't, that's when you send a message. If you just drop out of everything, they learn nothing from you. They're not going to know why, because you just take yourself out of the audience. That's not voting this way or the other. That's just simply not voting, period. You're not sending a message that way.
Basically, what I said last night was, like, we've got, for instance, the 4K versions of the movies coming up, including they're going to finally put out the definitive director's cut of Star Trek that, oh God, the director just escaped my mind. But he got to work on it just before he died. And so that was his final one. He signed off on it. It was the definitive version as far as he was concerned, but it was forever trapped in 480p until now. So they are meticulously working on it to get it upgraded in the next, They said it'd take them about 8 months. So what they'll end up doing is releasing all the movies, and then when they're all done, they'll release the director's edition of the first film. So those kind of things support, I say. Show them that that's what you want, right? Get the classic films.
Yeah.
But I honestly said this last night, Andre, I might put my foot down on reviewing any more of these shows. I don't think we should give them any more attention, because I've really gotten to this point where, kind of like with the Geode thing, I swear they're doing a lot of this shit on purpose just because nobody else is talking about it and they need us to talk about it. And I even use the quote from Scarface. It's like, you need me to be the bad guy so you can point the finger and go, there, that's a bad guy.
See, well, you will recall that I don't think I'm gonna force you to watch anymore, because you will recall I didn't have the conscience to make anyone review the latest Marvel Disney Plus things. The same with this thing here. Like, I had my fill after Picard and the last season of Discovery. I mean, we even tried to sucker Mr. H into watching it, and we had a lot of fun when he saw the first episode. If you haven't seen that video where he first reacts to it, then go check it out. It's in our Star Trek playlist, and hilarity ensues. But even he questioned our friendship afterwards, and he couldn't finish the series.
And I think Paulie and who was Culture and Paulie, I think.
Culture and Paulie.
They half-assed volunteered for that stupidity.
Well, they'll watch season 1, and then we'll see if we're able to con them into doing some more of it, just for everyone else's enjoyment. But I don't think I'm gonna order anyone to suffer through that anymore. I mean, there are limits. Like, I don't want to be reported to like the UN Council for Human Rights or anything like that here. So yeah.
And everybody thankfully pointed out Robert Weiss is who I was trying to think of, man who edited Citizen Kane, of course, directed Sound of Music as well. And Last Hope, doesn't that pay Kurtzman's wages then, Tom? Kurtzman's already going to get paid.
Oh, he's going to get paid no matter what.
Yeah,
here's
no
like the thing: he's guaranteed payment, and he, like, the stuff that you like, chances are that that's not the kind of stuff that he has any kind of involvement in. So you feel free to, and even if it should have one way indirectly or another like that, doesn't matter, because it's important that you vote with your wallet. And the only way to do that is actually support the things that are good. And it's extra important to support the things that are good from providers that you otherwise like. They're the ones to message them. They're not going to get told by.
You're cutting out again. I didn't hear half of the last thing you said, so I doubt anybody else did too. So while you're redoing whatever it is you're doing, I'm going to catch up on some super chats that I can grab on screen, so then we can get back to the other ones when you redo your internet or whatever you're doing there. Wes Moody, our buddy, says, if you get a lobotomy, Kurtzman Trek may be good. We do not we don't suggest doing that, but that might be the only way to make it watchable. That's very true. And thank you for that, Wes. Then we've got your Muslim uncle. How you doing, buddy? Says you 100% agree with Tom now. I'm not watching anymore. I don't want you guys to suffer either. Well, it's even gotten to a point where people don't even really care to come and watch the reviews anymore. And a lot of the videos we've done on Star Trek don't really get any viewers that often. Like interest in it has waned so horribly. Are you back, Andre?
Yeah, I was here the whole time, but yeah, I think people
You're still
are done.
Sounding a bit digitized, but you're not as bad as you were. And welcome, Valiant Renegade.
Greetings.
Good morning, Midnight's Edge to the chat, everybody out there. Tom and Andre, how are you this Monday morning? Don't answer that because it sucks today.
I'm digitized, so yeah, I could be
You're
better.
Getting a little bit better now. So, go ahead and grab some of the classic super chats while we still have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to the classics then, to the very, very beginning, because who knows when I suddenly might robot out again. So, starting us out today was, let's see, who says, hi, gents, hello, everyone. And Revkor says, considering all the flops Kurtzman has done, who the hell approved this idiotic choice? They need to be immediately fired for being so fucking stupid. Yeah, I agree with that. And then we had like this little weirdo YouTuber called Valiant Renegade. and he said, I'm stuck at home today, so you guys get my full attention and pestering for the entire show while I watch real Star Trek from Nicholas Meyer. At least that was the intention until he actually joined us. And to be clear, when I said weird YouTuber, I meant really awesome up-and-coming YouTuber who also has a financial background like myself. And you should definitely check his stuff out, including his most recent Star Trek video. But check that out after we are done, because right now he's here with us.
Absolutely. Later on after the show.
Yes, and then we also had Silver Nova, who asks, is Star Trek dead? It's worse than that. It's woke, Jim. Yeah, I agree. That's a fate worse than death. Jim. And we have Michael Miller, who says, for 35 South African rands, my prediction, when Kurtzman's actual contract ends in April 2023, he's gone. This is a bullshit thing to silence everyone. Official sites don't have this up on their sites. Yeah, well, give them time. I don't think they're going to put something like that out there for no reason. So, yeah. And Stephanie Yanis, ex-Smuggler's Cantina, says there has to be a reason here. Could it be forcing them to make his movie? We'll get into that because I do have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Dash D says burning in the toes, probably athlete's foot. Just put on your socks first. Your underwear drags it to your marble sack. Oh, thanks for that image, Dash D. Is much appreciated. And Michael Miller also says this announcement isn't on any official CBS admin sites. No StarTrek.com or Viacom CBS controlled sites.
Well, you got to remember it's also Monday morning. So, like, CBS is probably not going to jump on this as quick as Bad Robot. And they're the ones who put out the announcement pretty much. So
yeah. And Rivers727 says, so Doomcock was full of it all along. Now, I wouldn't say that because I do not recall him making any promises one way or the other, only hearing rumors. And we have heard rumors as well, reported on some of them. And what we can say is that it's been a very strange relationship.
Well, and we'll break, like I said, we'll really break it down because there's a few bits in that Variety article that really kind of stick out to me. Is this may be good news for Kurtzman, but it may be kind of buried with some caveats. And
there are some caveats in there, absolutely. So Rivers, no one has been full of anything just yet. And Primer also says, what did we do to deserve all of this bullshit? Well, we existed. I think that's quite sufficient. Radio Man 1017 said it's time to fight back. We got that one. And Ray Young 74 says, Tom, that's not Andre. It's Doomcock in a cunning disguise. Actually, there's so many people that used to think that me and Doomcock were the same person, that I was Doomcock faking the accent until we were on stream together. That took care of that. Stephen Alton says for $10, hail Andre, Tom, Wrenches, and chat. Brothers and sisters, we have been betrayed. We have been beached. Hollywood has made it clear they do not want us. Time to give them a taste of their own medicine. So yeah, I see lots of people being well ready for battle here. Planar Aspect says for $5, at least we seem to be in danger of getting a good movie in Ghostbusters. The trailer breakdown was legit. You could feel the care. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then Hypergiver says, time to ratio everything they do into oblivion. And Andreas Georgiou says, for £2 British, Star Trek is dead. The SJWs must be pleased. Oh, I'm sure they are. And House Atreides says, hail Midnight's Edge. Do you think CBS is smart enough to do but a performance clause in Kurtzman's contract this time around? Now, why would anyone in Hollywood be smart enough for that? And with that, we have a few more super chats here, but I suggest that we get on with the show and then we'll catch up with the rest of the super chats afterwards. So, Valiant, since
just dumped another
we have
200
you
viewers
here,
for some reason.
yeah, again, there's something going on with the internet. It's not just my connection.
And there you go. Like clockwork, you just went digital. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, something
Same
goofy.
thing as the last two times. Okay, well, hopefully this is the last time. But anyway, you were saying, Andre, try talking again.
Yes, I'm back again now. I can tell you what is happening is that these are servers that are coming down and being put back on around the world, which is why we're also suddenly dropping like 200 viewers here, 150 viewers there, at the same time as I'm getting digitized. That's servers around the world dropping and coming back on. So something is going on, and I expect we'll hear something huge in the news the next few weeks.
Wait, it's an update for YouTube.
But no. But be that as it may, for the time being, Valiant, you already put out a most excellent video about this. So, to those that came in late or haven't followed the news, tell us, what are we talking about? Why is everyone up in arms? What happened this weekend?
Well, yesterday morning, about 9 o'clock Central U.S. time, we had the article drop from a number of sources. I think the initial source was Variety, saying that Alex Kurtzman of Secret Hideout, for those of you who don't know, is effectively a subsidiary of Bad Robot. Bad Robot's a major stakeholder. Alex Kurtzman is a J.J. Abrams, let's call it protege at this point, for lack of better words.
Acolyte is another term to use, but yeah.
Yep.
I like to refer to Secret Hideout as the Section 31 wing of Bad Robot.
I call them goons. I don't know about you guys, but
yeah, there's that too. But in any case, Kurtzman, who has been running Star Trek into the ground for the last several years, notably on CBS All Access, now Paramount Plus, CBS Broadcast Network. This is the guy who has given us Discovery, Section 31, Lower Decks, all kind of other things. And apparently, obviously, with Star Trek fans, traditional Star Trek fans, not the most popular thing. And then we all got surprised yesterday morning that Viacom CBS has gone ahead 2 years early and renegotiated the contract ostensibly for more money, and then extended it an additional 3 years. So initially, Kurtzman was set to be a part of Star Trek and Viacom CBS through 2023. You guys have discussed this on Midnight's Edge ad nauseum. Supposedly he had about 5 projects that he was going to have his hands on, and then come what may after that. Well, lo and behold, CBS has gone ahead and decided to jump the gun and say, yeah, we like what he's doing. It's, we have to assume it's making them money or it's driving subscribers. I can't imagine how or why. Paramount Plus is still a relatively small player by comparison to other players in the streaming market. But they've upped him and they've extended him out to 2026.
When you're dead last and nobody's watching your shit, and this is the only thing that anybody's watching on your shit.
Yes.
Well, there's more to this. We're going to break into this, but anyway, sorry, Valiant, continue.
No. That was basically it. I think you're right. I mean, as bad as this brand of Star Trek is, and or let's call it Star Trek Prime, as you guys have discussed so many times, when they switched to the Kelvin timeline, the licensing, they couldn't make it. They couldn't use original Star Trek as a basis for everything. They had to have so much percentage differences, 25% difference. So we got this. We now have JJ/Kurtzman Trek. Is what we have now. But yeah, you're right. I think compared to what else is on the platform, when you look at Paramount Plus or CBS All Access, what else is out there? Everything else that was supposed to have been exclusive to that platform to entice subscribers to come in and spend money on this service really hasn't. I mean, the only thing they can really talk about is the Star Trek programming, as bad as it is. You're right, Tom. That is their leader right now. And this is what we get. We're getting the best of the worst. So here we go. To
think that Beavis and Butthead is the only thing that CBS really has going for them, because at this point, in my opinion, the only thing I look forward from them is actually more Beavis and Butthead, and they'll probably find a way to screw even that up.
Is Mike Judge still going to be involved in all
yes,
that?
he's still going to be involved. So hopefully he hasn't
Okay.
gone woke. Then we should be fine. If like he has like some base and can do some actual political satire the way he could before.
The man who made King of the Hill just cannot go woke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope anyway.
That is my prayer.
Speaking of, Beavis and Butthead have chimed in on this news already too.
This sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
And I don't think I could have said it better myself. But no, let's break into this Variety article, because I think this one has the most to it. Now, first glance, this looks like it's the one kissing Kurtzman's ass the most, but I feel like it's the one that gives us the most information. So let's break this down pretty much almost paragraph by paragraph. Alex Kurtzman, the prolific producer who pilots the Star Trek franchise for CBS Studios and Paramount Plus, has extended his exclusive overall TV deal with Viacom CBS units through 2026. Now, if I remember right, this is more than do with Star Trek, right? It's an exclusive deal for all of his stuff, right? Because
that's important to emphasize.
Exactly.
This is an overall deal that they just want him to give them many more Clarices and other Stephen King adaptations that are due to fail. They just want failure across the board, which is the one thing that they're guaranteed to get from him. But they want that failures and not just Star Trek. So this goes beyond that.
Well, and here's the thing is, because we barely even got into this fucking thing. You're right. But Kurtzman is much like JJ, where he is a politician. He puts himself in positions where he can't be blamed for everything going wrong. And this is the thing is there was this big public arbitration over Clarice between CBS and him and his crew. And that did not go well. So that's why the only reason I'm surprised by this news. But I'm not, as we'll get into here, because some of the other crap that he's working on over at CBS, they mention here that he's ruining. Kurtzman's Secret Hideout banner will expand under the new agreement, add an executive to help manage its growing slate of series. Longtime Kurtzman partner Heather Caden remains the head of content for Secret Hideout, which is shepherding 5 Star Trek branded series for CBS Studios and Paramount Plus, along with drama and limited series such as Showtime's The Comey Rule and the upcoming The Man Who Fell to Earth, which will be a readaptation of the David Bowie classic. The company has become a reliable supplier of high-end shows for CBS, Showtime, and Paramount Plus. Now,
that's a line that was written directly from Secret Hideout,
yes.
More likely than not.
I was going to say, you guys got to remember, the way this article is written, it comes very heavily from that side of things, and I think they even got quotes from just about everybody, and they don't say they're from anywhere else. So I'm assuming they were pulled right for this whatever you want to call it.
Of course. I mean, this article, for the most part, is something that was pre-written by by either CBS or Secret Hideout's publicity department. Probably they've sent it back and forth between themselves, and then they'll have sent it to Variety and said, here, print this. This is how it works. If anyone is in doubt about that, do check out our earlier Ghostbusters videos, wherein we actually go through the evolution of one such article like this, about how the studio are the one that concocts the narrative, and they send it back and forth between themselves before it is sent out to the trades, where it appears to the public as independent journalism.
All right,
but really, you're reading something that comes straight from the marketing department.
I'm going to jump right into this because, the next paragraph is just them toting what very few hits Kurtzman has had through CBS, including Hawaii Five-0, which is a fucking remake, Scorpion and Salvation. They then claim they really want to keep Kurtzman in CBS. Kurtzman is the creative steward who plots out the storylines and distribution strategies for Star Trek content for years to come. At present, the Star Trek tote board encompasses Paramount Plus's Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks, and the upcoming animated series Star Trek Prodigy for Nickelodeon, aimed at introducing the Star Trek world to a new generation. Note they don't point out that Prodigy will not premiere on Nickelodeon, mind you. It's going to Paramount Plus first. I don't know if that was always the plan, but they really are trying to put out there that this is a Nickelodeon show first and foremost when it technically isn't. Although they may have some involvement in it from what we understand. Anyway, and on tap for next year is another origin story series, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which will follow the early space trotting adventures of Captain Christopher Pike as well as Spock in Number One. Now, this is George Cheeks saying this. Alex's vision and leadership of the Star Trek franchise and his ability to create artistic and commercial series across all platforms put him in a special class of creative talent. Oh boy, it does, George. George, who is the president and CEO of CBS. His substantial accomplishments at CBS and the spirit of collaboration we enjoy with his team are greatly valued, and we are excited to build on his already impressive slate for, I can't even say that with a straight fucking face.
I couldn't get through my video saying that this morning either. It took me like 3 or 4 takes just to not, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, sorry. I can't stop laughing. Kurtzman also guides all of Star Trek Universe's digital content, social media, podcasts, and games, as well as merchandising and collectibles. I feel like this is a very important bit here. Now, Andre, I'm wondering if you're on the same page as me with this. Why do you feel like Kurtzman controlling things such as social media and podcasts is a very important thing in this equation?
Well, there are a couple of reasons. One is that then he can infuse everything that he wants into it, but it's also a nice way of potentially distancing themselves when everything goes to hell.
Actually, you're not even thinking along the same lines I am. To me, this sounds more like this is how, everybody asks, how do they not know? Well, they know to a point that we're pissed, but that's the thing. They don't want us. They have flat out said it. And this is across the board with all of if we're white and male, they don't want anything to do with us and they want to get rid of us. That has been flat out stated. But the other side of this, I think maybe Andre, is if he's controlling the social media, he's controlling the flow of information to CBS, I bet. Through the social media. I don't know.
I would like to believe that they have other ways of getting information other than social media.
But then again, the world revolves around Twitter as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, that's the horror, that they think that Twitter is reality and that Parrot Analytics actually is a useful tool when neither statement is actually true. Well, the thing with Twitter can be made reality when they act upon it as if it is. That's kind of like the tragedy with that.
And Paulie quit because I'm white, just so you know. That's racist, Paulie. That's racist.
Well, not when it's done against white people by mere definition, and that's okay.
But he's Mexican American, and that's almost white already. It's getting there.
Don't they call it white Hispanic now?
Yeah, it's getting there. They're really moving the goalpost. But no, I think that's a very important thing because this is what JJ has wanted all the time too over this. But anyhow, Secret Hideout will recruit a franchise manager to help oversee the Star Trek frontier. Now, this is the next important thing here because not only is there already somebody else coming in to oversee all of this shit for Alex otherwise, sounds like there's also going to be a special person brought in just to oversee Star Trek.
Now that to me is very interesting.
Welcome, Mike.
Because what that tells me is that there will be someone else who's actually calling the shots on Star Trek. So we can hang on to that. Mike, how are you feeling this day?
Well, I got a call that we needed diversity and inclusion this morning a minute ago. Is that what?
Yeah, but it's not going to last long. As I just said, Mexican Americans are the new white. So goalposts are being moved. You're not as special as you used to be anymore.
That's 2 disappointments in 2 days.
But you're still cute. That counts.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, but I still can't sleep on the couch anymore at your place, you said.
I changed my mind last night, remember?
Oh, that's right. Andre, I've excellent news. After spending 5.5 hours with Tom on Doomcock's show last night, I think I got rid of all of my rage, so I can actually have a reasonable conversation about this horrific travesty of
You
justice.
sound like
okay.
a beaten animal, man.
Yeah, an animal that's like, oh, it's okay. I've been beaten so much, I'm used to it now.
Do
so
I
it's okay.
do I not sound like happy-go-lucky Mike in the morning, Valiant?
Yeah.
No, you don't. Darth Maul makes a prediction that Akiva Goldsman is that man. I don't know. Here's the thing. I think part of this article here is a big fuck you to Akiva Goldsman, to be honest with you. He's not mentioned anywhere in here.
No, he is not. And I agree with that, because there's been some kind of power struggle between Goldsman and Kurtzman, and this right here indicates that Kurtzman won,
out.
and he is now diminishing everything that Goldsman ever did.
Yeah, and I think this stems back because if anybody remembers and recalls, there was a rumor that there was a big argument and Kurtzman left, but then he came back.
Yep.
And they don't know what happened there. And Robert Meyer Burnett and myself had kind of figured out a few of these things through things that had happened to him that I can't really get into too much. He did say some of them, like, you know, getting a phone call or an email or something like that from Nicholas Meyer about reading or going over his con script. So that brought up a bit of a problem there, but this goes beyond that. See, the thing is Goldsman was the Strange New Worlds thing was Akiva Goldsman's baby. And we know this now for a fact because he came out and said this. And he even said that when he joined Star Trek, he thought that's what he was going to be working on. He had no desire to work on Discovery, in so many words. What he wanted to work on was a Pike and Spock show. So this was his call. And from what we kind of deduced was that the argument was probably set up because they have a 5-show deal. Like, they can't go any more than 5 shows. So what Strange New Worlds did was got in the way of Section 31. And that's what we heard pissed Kurtzman off, because that's been one of his babies for a long time. If you notice, he brings it up fucking constantly.
He constantly brings it up, Tom. If you look at, I follow like all of his video blips and have for a long time. If you look at his video blips, he's always bringing up Section 31 in one way or another. You are so right now. You are. So
this to me feels like he threw a big enough fit and got his way. So they renegotiated his contract so he can get his fucking Section 31 show. And I think I know what ignited this, or at least put it in motion, and why he's still around, aside from, you know, the normal bullshit we tell everybody is everybody's stupid. They don't see what's in front of their face. And Alex Kurtzman is a good politician. There was a big Playmates deal here just recently, just before this. Okay. And if anybody knows that has followed our reporting and some of the other folks in the community, Star Trek hasn't exactly had the biggest merchandising fucking presence in the last, 5 to 10 years.
It's ever since the first JJ movie, that had a ton of merchandising support, and it all stayed on shelves, and then the support kind of stopped after that.
But if anybody remembers, Playmates, of course, dominated the Star Trek merchandise for the better part of 20 years, through the TNG all the way up through recent years. Probably about, I think the license ran out in like 2000, whatever it was, after Enterprise, if that even went through Enterprise. But regardless, it was a huge thing for Playmates. Aside from TMNT, it's probably their biggest toy franchise they've ever had, I'd imagine. So this is a big deal for them, and that's where I believe a lot of the influx of money came. Because that's the thing. Mm-hmm. The whole thing probably hindered on whether or not they had money coming in. And if Kurtzman had anything to do with that Playmates deal, which is why I say him overseeing all of this right here says it. Merchandising and collectibles. So that means he was probably one of the ones who had a lot to do with that deal going through. And one thing we've constantly heard is Paramount is in dire need of money. And if you have a big lucrative toy deal come across, what are you going to do? You know?
And on that note, I have heard something else, and it all has to do with money, because this is the thing that we have always said. because we have never ever said that Section 31 or Strange New Worlds, all of those things, that they're conclusively not going to happen. We have always been very clear that it's about the funding. And what's really important for CBS is that Secret Hideout is able to get as much outside funding as overall possible for what they're doing, so that CBS doesn't have to take any more risk than necessary. They were super happy with the first season of Star Trek Discovery because there Netflix paid for the entire thing by picking up the international distribution rights, so that the only thing that CBS actually had to pay was the production fee to Secret Hideout, and they kind of want that to continue. So one of the things that has really kept progress from happening, what has kept Star Trek 4 from happening, is the lack of funding. It's been Secret Hideouts and Bad Robot's inability to attract funding, which means that Paramount and CBS, whoever it may be at different times, have had reason to say, we're not doing this, it's too expensive, we can't justify the risk of funding that bill or footing that bill ourselves in addition to your production cost. What I have heard is that Secret Hideout and Alex Kurtzman may have found a way to get extra commitment from outside investors to fund more upcoming stuff. And that is one thing that's also going to trigger CBS to enter a new kind of deal if they get some kind of guarantee that, oh, okay, this outside investor, they're going to pick on the tab of a lot of this. So we get content that we only have to pay the production fee for. That's going to be very tempting for them, even though they may or may not be entirely convinced by the quality of the content. But if Kurtzman can bring the money, which are some rumors that he now suddenly can, then that changes the equation.
I think this Playmates deal has a lot to do with it, because let's be
real.
real.
But the same thing. It's the same thing. The Playmates deal happened, but this also goes to show the external funding, and do not be surprised if there is some outside help between those two things. It's just that the Playmate thing is one that we see right now, and that's a huge win. But I think there's going to be another win that we haven't heard about, which very also could force this in, because it's all about the funding.
There is some other merchandising deals, even though they're smaller. There's like a Playmobil and a few other ones that have come across. But we'll actually read the Playmates breakdown here as soon as we finish this up. I'm going to bust through the rest of this real quick. So as we said, they're going to hire a franchise manager. Secret Hideout noticed that it remains in development on other Trek series, such as Section 31 with Michelle Yeoh. And that's why I think there's a very good reason that's brought up, is this new deal will probably open up the ability to make more than 5 shows, because that was where they were stuck before. And that I believe was actually in the public. So that's not a rumor. Alex's vision and breadth of interest is unmatched, as he is a team, and he and his team have reignited the Star Trek franchise with 5 and counting. They keep bringing that up. Brilliantly unique series, while at the same time creating long-running hit series for both the CBS network and premium spaces.
Name one.
Yeah, said CBS studio president David Stapp. As an artist, Alex does it all. Not only is he a visionary who creates worlds, he has that rare skill of being able to write, direct, produce, and inspire those who work with him to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, in other words, he makes people do better.
Oh, this article is so full of ass kissing, it's not even funny.
Oh, wait till you get to that.
It's over the top.
Wait till the next article where you see the alignment with the toys, as you were talking about, Tom.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, Alex probably wrote half of it himself.
Kurtzman has stayed busy outside of Star Trek content. Here's the answer you were looking for, Andre. With a range of other shows and hands-on creator, showrunner, and director, upcoming projects include an adaptation of the cult fave Walter Travis novel The Man Who Fell to Earth, which Kurtzman is steering with executive producer Jenny Lumet. Lumet and Kurtzman are also teaming up on a Lena Horne biopic series for Showtime. Horn is Lumet's grandmother. Secret Hideout is also developing a project about FBI stalwart Elliot Ness, long pursuit of Al Capone. So evidently Clarice didn't work, so they're actually going to use a guy. Huh? Interesting. Other projects in the works at Secret Hideout include New York Times at special bargain rates based on a Stephen King short story adapted by Jessica Mecklenburg. And it has a number of book options, including The Girl Who Could Move Shit with Her Mind by Jackson Ford. Well, that sounds like a winner. Kurtzman praised CBS Studios as having been a nurturing home for his TV efforts for more than 10 years.
That's what it says. Yeah.
CBS has been been my home, and this is Kurtzman, been my home for over a decade because the incomparable David Stapp always helps find a way to demonstrate his decency and creative passion, not just for the work we do, but for the many people who do it, he said. And that's probably the manliest Kurtzman has ever sounded. Kurtzman credited David Nevins, Showtime chief and Paramount Plus scripted chief, as being a rare breed executive with auteur taste and the guts to take chances, who encouraged us to create premium streaming and cable that pushes boundaries. So that's the guy who's responsible for making it all fucking like F words and bloody. Any credited Cheeks with helping guide Secret Hideout and himself. With thoughtful care and strategic brilliance as the rules of our business grow and change daily, as Secret Hideout expands its footprint across Viacom CBS, I can imagine no greater partners, and I'm so excited to tell more stories together for years to come.
Oh my God, this is so nauseating.
I know. The entire variety
It was a
article
big
is
circle
one
jerk
big
between
circle
these
jerk.
guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not
But-
only that, it's just gaslighting the readers.
It's really, this is why, okay, let me take you guys back to the Clarice thing. That got into the press, right? Like, the Star Trek stuff gets out through us. It's very easy for them to deny. But the Clarice thing caught wind and got out in the big press, right? So that was like, that was not a good look for Kurtzman. So I feel like this is them making better on that, because that was probably never supposed to get out. Whatever it was they had going on behind the scenes was resolved. Alex did his best to kiss the topmost of CBS and Paramount with this. He got his fucking deal. And really, it all boils down to, I believe, the Playmates deal, which we'll get into. And the other side of it, as I said, it's his politics. He knows the right ass to kiss. And they are stupid. Because we have heard from a couple people now that Paramount is completely oblivious to how fucked some of this shit is. They have no idea what they're doing. They have destroyed how many fucking properties. They don't know what to do with SpongeBob. They don't know what to do with Dora. They don't know what to do with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, arguably one of the biggest fucking franchises out there. And I've already argued probably the biggest franchise under their umbrella besides SpongeBob. Even
Yeah,
bigger
it
than
could
Star
be.
Trek.
Yeah.
It could be.
For sure. Yeah, it could be. Has the potential to be.
And this is why this happened, is because they have no fucking clue what they're doing. They're clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Clueless.
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned earlier about the whole social media thing, and in the article they talk about basically Kurtzman and Secret Hideout have almost autonomous control of the information flow and the marketing flow for the franchises they have under their control for that studio. And I think, we've seen this before. This same thing happened with Lucasfilm. I mean, Kathy Kennedy and the Story Group in particular basically had autonomous control over social media, YouTube, Twitter especially. We saw that for quite some time. Everything that was coming out, on there was effectively denigrating the classic fans and trying to set up the new stuff that was very unpopular. But then we saw, as time went on, especially in the last 8 to 12 months, once the revenue started drying up and there was nothing, really coming in, I think we saw that change. There seemed to be a rather notable shift in the tone of what was being posted on Twitter and more recently YouTube and things like that from Lucasfilm and the Story Group. So I kind of tended to believe that at some point somebody somewhere stepped in, whether it was Chapek or somebody else, and pulled control of that marketing and social media and put it in the hands of somebody else, because it seems like there was a like I said, a notable shift. Now, I'm bringing that up just because I think that, at some point we could see, if the revenues don't materialize for this, if they don't realize the kind of returns they want, or if somebody upstairs does start noticing fan backlash, we could eventually see that same thing here. Although I don't know, if social media control is part contractually of this new agreement that they have with Kurtzman, to where it's part of his job description and they can't just so easily take it away. So it's bizarre the way that these studios are handling this, but I think you're right. I think to a large degree they are very oblivious to this, because you can go search YouTube and things like that right now, and when you pull up or when you search for things like Star Trek Discovery videos on that, to me the majority of the ones that I run across are negative. I don't see a lot of love and adoration for this, and it's this attitude like we had with Star Wars, where somebody like a Kurtzman comes in and says, you really don't want, you don't need the old fans. You don't want the old fans. We're going to build a new audience, right?
Yeah.
We're going to build a new audience and we're going to get new people in. And then it's like, see, it's making money. But Paramount, just like with TMNT, which I agree with you, Tom, is a crime. They can't figure this one out. They don't understand. All they see is the money that's coming in. They don't understand. They don't see the money that's still out there sitting on the table. It took Disney a long time to figure that out with Star Wars. It took them 3 movies, well, really 5 movies, and it took a major event. The only thing that got Disney off its ass to start trying to look at fixing what they had done to Star Wars, at least fingers crossed at this point, it looks like it's moving in that direction, was to have that Favreau moment where those little ears perk up out of that cradle and the world went nuts for Baby Yoda, and then went batshit a year later when Luke showed up, the real Luke showed up. Disney had those seminal moments to where it was like, oh, dude, look at the freaking merchandise we're selling all of a sudden. We thought this was okay, but my God, we had no idea that was out there. Paramount hasn't had that moment yet. Somebody's going to have to step in and do something that triggers that seminal moment for Paramount. I just don't know where it's going to come from at this point.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy, and this is what I've said too. I agree with you completely. They could have had that seminal moment, and you know what it was supposed to have been? Picard. Picard could have been that seminal moment that fixed everything, bring back all the good stuff. But instead, it just further cemented the damage. Imagine if the only return of Luke that had been in The Mandalorian had been the tragic, beaten down Jake Skywalker. There would have been no Skywalker moment then. There would have been no excitement, no nothing.
No,
what we got in Star Trek was more of the equivalent of Jay Skywalker. We never got that promise of a return or reference to anything more hopeful. And what could have been, they destroyed. They took out Picard. They took out almost the entirety of the next generation crews. Now what do they have? In Picard, I feel, destroyed the Star Trek franchise to the point of no return.
Yeah, because there's nothing left from that old cast that you can really put together.
No, there's nothing.
Bring back 90-year-old Shatner.
Yeah, that's the
what do you do with him at this point? Yeah,
the irony is that's probably the one thing they have, is to bring back Shatner in some capacity.
Running out of time on that one.
That's not going to happen because he's too way. His Twitter account is absolutely, completely and totally mocking of everything.
Yeah, I know. That is why he would be the perfect one to fix this. But of course, that's never going to happen.
Look at one of the other shows that Kurtzman is doing. You're talking about the politics of it, and his politics on Twitter don't line up, and that's all that matters to Hollywood. The Comey rule. And for you guys out there in the audience, it is exactly what you think it is. He is making a show about James Comey and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Oh my God! From him.
That's what I was
which
thinking
direction
too.
that's going to go.
We have to focus on here has to do with a little bit of, we have to put together everything that Tom said and Andre said with a good healthy Louisiana seasoning of what Valiant is talking about. That what we basically have here is a guy who's a showman and a salesman and a bit of a con artist who is controlling, and I do believe the human mind only has so much time to absorb only so much information. If you have a guy in front of you that's kissing your ass, licking your ass, like Kurtzman, and filling your mind with like, oh, we can do this, oh, we can do that, oh, we can do this, oh, let me do this, let me do that. I mean, these execs don't know how to produce anything anyways, these morons. And so then they have a guy like this who they think it can be their guy. And God Almighty, somehow or another, he's already produced some stuff that to them, they don't know any better, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. And they're getting, they're living in a vacuum. And then you throw this toy thing on top of it. See, I've always been a huge fan of Star Trek toys and stuff. And I thought it was very odd. My stomach turned a bit when I saw that Playmates, the news announcement was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? I sent Tom the article, but it was
July 13th.
Okay, July 13th. That,
like I said, this is just on the heels of that.
Yeah. So that, if anything, if you look at that, and I mean, I'll let Tom go ahead and read and go into it here in a second. But basically, what's happened is this guy has basically sold a bill of goods where he said, I can do this show, this show, this show, and then he throws the toys on top of it. That makes CBS, think that okay, there's going to be something there. I am going to laugh when this thing falls on its face. And if you read the announcement that Tom's about to do, the article that Tom's about to read, how closely does it not read to the article that you just read? Watch.
Well, not only that, I don't know if you guys can see this here. I'll try and zoom in a little bit. They almost give you a tease of, well, no, every time I zoom in, it goes smaller. They almost give you a possible tease of some of these characters because it looks like you've got Data here, Mikey Spock, old Picard. I can't tell who the fuck that's supposed to be. That's Saru, and that's Spock, young Spock with the beard. And they look like toys. They don't look like the actual people. So my guess is these are going to be part of. Okay, I'm going to get into this, and I wish Script Doctor was here because he said the wording of this is a bit odd. But I'm not so sure. But we'll get into this. I wish he was here to kind of explain his point of view on this because I don't see what he's saying. But Playmates Toys and Viacom CBS Consumer Products today announced that Viacom CBS has awarded the global toy company with the licensing rights for action figures, vehicles, ships, and role play and other toy categories for Star Trek, all Star Trek properties. Playmates will launch a new Star Trek toy line in 2022 following Star Trek's entry into kids content with the premiere of Star Trek Prodigy. So the first toy line they're going to have out is for Star Trek Prodigy. Among the quantities Playmates will bring to the Star Trek universe are its attention to brand detail, authentic portrait sculpting, and new product innovations it plans to introduce to its forthcoming Star Trek collections. Fans can look forward to a new lineup of action figures and accessories from Star Trek Discovery, Lower Decks, Picard, and other Star Trek series throughout the universe coming soon, and future selections from the Star Trek universe of series and motion pictures, including the Paramount Plus CG animated Star Trek Prodigy, produced by Nickelodeon Animation Studio and CBS Studios. Details on forthcoming product lines from Playmates will be announced at a future date. Now, this is where Script is saying that all they mention is the newer shows, and they only say things that are coming soon for future selections. But see, here they also said all Star Trek properties. So that's where him and I kind of like, I'm not so sure. He thinks it may just be under whatever the bad, the secret robot fucking license is, which he could be right. He could very well be right. But I don't see Playmates getting involved if they couldn't make Kirk and Spock and all those characters too.
I don't think it's going to happen.
He may be right on that, but otherwise, my guess is that's why they got involved in this. They want to be able to do the classic stuff.
I think to a small extent, and it'll probably be a very limited. And again, I'm speculating. I don't have any inside baseball knowledge. I'm just purely speculating. But as someone who has followed a lot of Star Trek toys, so I don't really get into toys in general at all. The only ones I've ever been into are Star Trek ones, and at least as an adult, anyways. And I really think that they are at best going to have, the 2009, iteration of Kirk and Spock from the movie. But I don't think that's going to be a major part. It's clear to me that these guys want to wash their hands. We discussed this last night on Doomy's show, which is that it's in Tom, you're right. It's taking me a while to grapple with this, but I really do think, like in the comic book industry, Hollywood hates us. They don't like us. They don't want us. And anything that gives us a fond memory of the past is out to be destroyed and on the chopping block. I think you are beyond right. It's taken me. You've been saying this for weeks and months, Andre, as well, to in a different way. and I haven't really wanted to go there mentally, but I'm completely convinced. And I really think that it's out with the old and in with the new and redefining. Because if you think about this from a cultural standpoint, when I look at what these shows are now, and oh, by the way, I came to make a very special announcement that Tom and Andre, you can rely on me to make sure that Culture Casino and Latino Slant do in fact watch Picard, and we're going to produce that stuff.
Oh, awesome! I can't wait for it.
I am going to take it as you, the two of you have anointed me as exec producer of Midnight Sage Espanol. And although not in the job description, I'm going to tirelessly, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that this happens for our mutual entertainment and my therapy.
Yes, exactly. So we can have fun watching them squirm.
Oh, it's going to be glorious. I'm going to get angles. And, it's going to be good, Andre. I'm going to do such a good job. And Tom, we're going to feel so much better afterwards. Now, Latinos, land, and culture may feel worse, but, things are with...
But it's all for a good cause.
It is all for a good cause.
And
it's not about me. It's for the people.
Is Paulie backing out now? Uh-oh.
Oh, he can't back out. I got him on
tape.
Take
one for the team.
And I sent a Twitter message an hour ago to him and Culture already that this is happening.
Well,
but listen, let me just say my last point real quick, and then I'll turn it over in 30 seconds. I just wanted to say that when you look at what Star Trek was and what it is, if you look at the essence of what it is today with the three seasons, Discovery and Picard, and which painfully I've watched most of it, if not all of it, and you look into what we left behind, right? We talk about what we've left behind, not DS9, but what we left behind with the original Star Trek. There's no choice but to jettison it all, because what it was and what it's been and what it is to those of us today is completely antithetical to what it is they want it to be today. So it must die, and it will die. And the toys are further evidence that they're going to try to make it die, because they don't want our children. They don't want us to be able to hand this down to our children, including the ability to go into a Target and buy new action figures that are from the original series or things that we grew up with, and hand those down to our kids and re-celebrate that. They don't
Remember,
want
that's what J.J. Abrams wanted to begin with. He wanted to kill off classic Trek once and for all. He was of the opinion there can only be one, and that one has to be mine. Meaning JJ Trek. So this is like a long-term goal, obviously. And yeah, you're right. And also, just look at the values that were in the original Trek. That was a hopeful utopian show that celebrated true diversity in all forms, whereas the new one is about exclusion, and it's a dystopian society that's being presented there. So yeah, it couldn't be more different.
Well, in the words of in the words of Shatner in Star Trek, what was it, 6 or 5? Let them die. I think it was 6.
6.
But no, if Script Doctor is right and this toy deal only covers new Trek shit, then it's doomed. We all know that it's doomed.
Well, part of me kind of hopes that it is, because that way Playmates will really get to feel what kind of a bad deal they actually made with all the toys that are going to be left on toy shelves and collect dust there. Because here's like the thing, like this plan of jettison all the old customers, and then suddenly a brand new audience will suddenly spring into existence. So far, that hasn't happened on any property where it's been tried. The first step is successful. The old fans leave, but there's no new ones flocking in to replace them. That's their challenge. And I am pretty sure the same thing is going to happen here. If Playmates does new toys only in the image of new Trek, they're going to collect dust on shelves. And I look forward to seeing their share price take a tumble after they spent all that time making new molds and tool them and all of those things, only for them to collect dust on shelves. I look forward to that.
I think the absolute fallout is going to be absolutely devastating, because unlike Disney, which has a lot more meat to play with and a lot more financial fat to screw around with, CBS and Viacom does not in terms of its stock price, not in terms of its cash reserves. And if you look at its debt load, its debt load is absolutely atrocious. Its financial ratios, Andre, are abysmal.
Oh, they are horrendous. Yeah, they're like literally on the verge of doom every single day.
We talk about Disney, but Andre, if we look at the financial ratios of this company,
Disney is good because they're like a company that, well, they're not good, but they are someone where the amounts are just so massive that they have massive depth, but they still also have massive earnings.
right?
So even if when they do really, really bad, enough money comes in, there's like so much money that goes around to everyone that there's an incentive to prevent them from going under. Like if there's like one day they suddenly can't pay their bills or something like that, they're more likely to get an extension than have to file for bankruptcy. Whereas with CBS, they aren't in that position. They don't enrich as many people. They aren't so influential that they'll get the kind of leeway that Disney will get.
Right.
No, but CBS is still pretty big. We got to remember that. CBS.
Oh, they're still pretty big,
a
but
big
they're
network.
like not.
But yeah, like networks are dying. But I just want to posit this with the whole Playmates deal. I feel like this deal probably came together more so because Playmates has had they were built on Ninja Turtles, their first big franchise out the door, and it's been something they've held on to for years. And I can't believe they made this deal considering Paramount and Nickelodeon basically killed TMNT with Rise of the TMNT. Go walk into a Walmart now. There is no Ninja Turtles on the shelves.
Well, could there
classics.
be a Turtles aspect to this deal that as of yet hasn't been announced? Could it be that there's a larger deal between Playmates and CBS, and we're only hearing the Star Trek aspect of the deal in this case? Could it be that what they really wanted was, say, SpongeBob and Turtles, but in order to get that, they better take this the Star Trek thing as well?
It could have lined up with like a renewal of the TMNT deal. That could have very well be. But that's the thing is, I was just saying is they kind of like just killed the momentum of that franchise with Rise of TMNT. They're nowhere to be found. But what Playmates but it's not just Playmates has not been exclusive with TMNT lately. There's been NECA dolls and other things like that have come out. But what I did notice with Playmates, and this is where I was going to get to, is if they are able to do classic Trek, this is how I kind of figure this is going to go. Because they, and this also applies to things like Motu and stuff we've noticed. If we've had this resurgence in this classic toy line, repackaging thing, like with real Ghostbusters. Ninja Turtles has been popular for years with that, with a lot of the classics repackaged. Masters of the Universe has their Origins line right now, which basically took over for the classics line. And all these things are basically the older imaged toys in a new version, and they generally sell pretty good because of of us, right? And I feel like Playmates is going to have this problem going forward where the new Trek stuff is going to sit there and collect dust, like you said, Andre. But what's going to happen is if they're lucky enough to be able to produce classic Trek, you watch, they'll do a line of figures in their old vintage Playmates mode. You know what I mean? And those fuckers are going to sell like hotcakes. You watch. And I know this because look at all these toy lines when they Andre, right now, you can go grab original Motu toys for next to nothing, but try and get your hands on some of the Origins or classics, right?
The classics are incredibly hard.
Especially classics.
Yeah, exactly my point. So that's the market this is going to end up going towards. So unless Script's right, and this is only for new Trek, which I cannot believe Playmates would make that dumb of a deal, they're going to end up waddling along with this new shit, and then all of a sudden they're going to drop some classic Trek stuff, and it's going to sell like hotcakes. And then that's where we're going to get the proof we need. And then hopefully we can pray and hope that Paramount will finally see it, because it didn't happen with the McFarlane toy line, and the Mego toy line is still whatever. They've got some Discovery toys in there and whatnot, but we've never had a major Discovery or Picard toy line to compare to the classic stuff. And I feel like they need that kind of stuff is.
We need in order for Kurtzman to go, we're going to need four things to happen. Number one, we're going to need these toys to fail. Number two, we're going to need the ratings to continue to suck and be horrific, whether they're disclosed to us or not. Number three, we're going to need that movie to bail and suck. And number four, we're going to need the execs to get their head out of their ass and stop mentally masturbating, and that's a wild card. I think we can bank on the other three.
Oh yeah, the other three are dead certains.
Yeah, what Tom just said about that is that's what I was going to say earlier to you, Andre, when you said, I hope it's just the new ones. I'd make the counter argument like Tom did. I hope it's both, because that metric is going to bear out when you have.
This is true. This is a
Yeah,
good point. This is saying what I said before, that it's important to signal boost the things that you actually want. So yeah, you're right in that. It's
Right,
actually
and that's
more
ex-
important that they see the original sell like hotcakes and the new stuff fail.
Yeah, and it was the same dynamic that we got with the Favreau Mandalorian universe versus the Kennedy verse with High Republic and the sequel trilogies. That, I mean, it was a huge
World of difference,
divergence
yeah.
of big differences between the two, and it was very, very obvious. So I would love to see that. Now, if Playmate, it's a bad deal for them only if they paid too much, right? And I don't know if their article mentions what the value
They
of the
don't
deal
say
was.
what it is, and that's why I think that this was probably a pretty lucrative deal for them.
Right. So if they paid rock bottom dollar to get the rights to produce these things and it's only for the new stuff, well then fine. I mean, there's really not that much sweat off their back if they think they can turn a little bit of ROI on it. But if they overspent on it and they're going to get buried, then yeah, it sucks. And then that would be a big bellwether. But that being said, I would rather see them produce classic Star Trek toys, have those sitting right next to the shelves of Mikey Burnham, okay, and then have old classic Picard, real Picard, and real Kirk, and all these other guys. I have those things sell like crazy, and then have nothing from Discovery, Lower Decks, and all these other shows that they make. Sell none of it, because you see, they can get new fans, they can build a new fan base.
Yeah.
Star Trek has successfully done this before with The Next Generation. They got the classic fans in for that. I don't know, they can do it now, but they can't do it the way they are doing it.
I just got to interrupt you for a second because we do have a special guest joining us, the one, the only Yellow Flash. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
Hey,
Hello. Hey.
who's gonna buy these toys? There's no fans left of
Nah.
Star Trek.
The original fans, maybe if you got the classic stuff, and that's kind of what we're saying before you come in here is, yeah, if this Playmates deal extends into the old school Trek, that stuff will probably sell. But yeah, we don't see any demand for the new stuff. But what's your take on all this, Yellow Flash? Welcome. How you doing? Hope you're well. But we're curious to hear what you think about all this.
I think Star Trek's fucked.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to say that. Those exact words, actually.
Summed up the whole 3-hour show in one sentence right there.
That was Sunday, right? They made that announcement. It's just yesterday.
Yesterday morning.
So it's like, what news to wake up to? I can't believe they did that. There was time left, and they just give this guy money. It must be to, I think, Tom, weren't you saying that? So that they must have found some deals to make money through investments.
Well, that's
Yeah,
where
I was the one saying that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Andre was saying, yeah, they must have found some other influx of money,
Yeah.
and this deal and a few others are probably it.
Because I know for a fact that one of the things that have gotten in their way is that CBS has basically said that this stuff ain't doing good enough for us to go in and foot more of the bill, hoping to get it back when we know we probably won't. So if you want more series and more movies and stuff like that, come up with the funding for it. And that's what they failed miserably to do. However, there's been some word that that Secret Hideout has gotten some kind of commitment from an external funding partner, and that's going to make all the difference in the world.
Maybe
They're
it's
looking
the
for syndication
ACLU.
partners later.
You are not entirely wrong. You are not entirely wrong. You're on the right scent. Let's put it that way. What I've heard is that it's investment from someone that doesn't necessarily expect a return on that investment.
Yeah, we have to keep that message going, because it's not about the content; it's about the message.
Yes, and these apparently are some funding partners that are about the message.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
Makes horrific sense. But
So it's funding partners that want to see the message, and they're willing to pay to have the message out there, and they're not expecting to profit from it. And that's exactly the kind of investors that someone like Alex Kurtzman needs, someone that is prepared to lose the money. Not saying that's a good thing, but that's where Star Trek is.
Yeah, I
'cause you have-
wonder.
go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Flash.
No, you're all right. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say real quickly, you have to wonder at this point if they could find a syndication partner for any of this new stuff going forward. They had trouble with Netflix after the first couple of seasons of Discovery that was basically footing the bill, and you guys had discussions on this at length here on Midnight's Edge. And I know Flash has covered some of this too. Great channel. I've been following you for a while, Flash, man. I love your stuff. But I mean, is an Amazon going to try to step back in? Is an Apple going to try to step in? People that need to buy up content for this. I mean, if there's some other deal behind the lines that we have not seen yet that would have precipitated this contract extension for Kurtzman 2 years early, right? He was already slated to go through 2023. All they did was give him more money on this 2-year deal and then extend him out to 26. It's like an NFL contract with a star running back.
Such thinking and is excellent. I mean, it's brilliant, but the problem is that you're far more brilliant than these morons in Hollywood. They don't think three-dimensional strategically like that. I mean, it is brilliant financial thinking, what you just said, but they're not there. Like they're up a creek. Their stock is crap. Their financial ratios suck. Their balance sheet sucks, and they think this guy is their, the snake oil salesman is their next best shot to try to mentally masturbate themselves into entertainment that might get them out of the hellhole that they're in.
I would agree with that. I'm just trying to give you the setup right now where what they could be doing, but again, it's like, Flash just mentioned, like Andre just mentioned, if they have another party coming in there that's saying, hey, look, we'll pony up 50 million, 100 million, something that's we want to drive this narrative. We want to keep this going. You got Michelle Yao, who's part of the show. You can imagine where some money might be coming from a particular government.
Yeah, you can imagine that there's going to be some funding from that part of the world. See, that's what I mean. Like the funding partners that Kurtzman evidently has found are of the kind that aren't necessarily interested in seeing a return on the investment, but that have another motive with having something like Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that motives the message.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if it does good or not if you don't care about making money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's just a matter of finding those. So yeah.
And now Playmates Toys can hop on that and make no money either. I really wonder, you think people will step up and buy? I don't want a Kirk figure. They haven't done anything with him for a long time. And what's the quality going to be like on this? Are they going to release the classic toys? Did anybody even buy those?
Well, actually, they have started to sell less as well, because that's kind of like the tragedy. What I see with Star Trek is that over the past years, the content has been so bad that even the loyal fans are losing interest and dropping out. Because we saw this with McFarlane Toys. They had like this deal to do both first and foremost the classic figures, and then also the option to do Discovery figures. Now, they never did the Discovery figures. However, they also didn't follow through on all of the classic figures, because the ones that they didn't sell as expected. And McFarlane Toys, they're usually pretty right on the money in making their estimates with what like the size of the fan base and everything like that is. But they overestimated the demand for classic Trek figures, which is why they pulled out of the deal. Now, I'm inclined to believe that their estimates were probably on the money at the time when they made them. But by the time those figures had reached market, many of the audiences that otherwise would have bought them had lost interest. Like Star Trek was just destroyed for them. I think, and this is just, I don't know this, like this is just me speculating, judging for myself and others I have spoken with, that the last few years of Trek has been so bad that it has even tarnished their memories of real Trek. I just know with myself that from my Blu-ray collection that I have like on display on my shelf, where I have like all of the original next gen collections, like signed and everything like that, I may jettison them from the shelf and put them in the basement in storage or something, because like Star Trek is done for me.
Yeah, and then some other observations that I'll add is that when you look at say the Star Wars versus the Star Trek franchise. Paramount has so horrifically managed this franchise overall. We have a couple other things happening. The one thing that you have happening is that you have a break in age groups between who's been a fan of Star Trek. You know, Star Trek Next Generation and all that came along just at the right time so that existing fans could take a look at it, and just at the right time so that the next generation, which would be like my nephews and nieces and so forth, you know, I might have gotten into it. My older ones, because, you know, I'm a bit older. But when you look at what's happened with Star Trek much more recently, is that this is the wrong thing, and it's too little too late. On top of that, you throw the fact that the Star Trek classic fandom is dying off. We are dying off. Those of us in our 60s, 50s, and late 40s that have heartfelt memories of this, we're getting older. Many of us have died out. It's happened. If you look at the conventions, the Star Trek conventions, and the average age of the people going, it's gotten higher, 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 higher. The attendance has gotten lower, lower, lower. And that's before pandemic, and that was before any other, you know, and that's certainly before Kurtzman really got his fangs into this several years ago. That had already been happening. This just accelerates the process. And I you know, today's show makes me self-reflective, because I realize myself, holy shit, for the first time in about a 5 or 6 year run, I haven't bought anything classic, new, old. I haven't bought anything Star Trek action figure related, which I used to buy all the time.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's what I mean. It's been so bad that it's killed the interest. And also, what I recall is that many observed after the initial 2009 movie by J.J. Abrams, that after that movie, more young people were coming in. I will submit, for how many people hate that movie, that it actually was successful in opening Star Trek up to a new audience that had never heard of it before. But then they dropped the ball completely and lost all the momentum with Into Darkness that came out 4 years later. And that obviously was 2 years too late, and it had the wrong story to boot. And I blame Kurtzman for that, because what we got in Into Darkness was a very Kurtzman-like story of how the real villain were ourselves all along.
Well, and we know the powers that be were always constantly putting down anything classic Trek anyway, because going on that note, Kurtzman and Orci were two of the guys behind the writing team of those films, and Orci's version of 3 was tossed aside, and he was kind of booted from the group because of what, Andre?
Yeah, you glitched for a second there.
I said, well, Orci and Kurtzman, who were writers on those films, Orci got booted from the group over
because
the third film.
He was too much of a Star Trek fan, and he wrote a script that was too Trekky. That's not what they wanted.
Yeah.
I can't have that.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that
Andre's
story.
right. I mean, that was very well documented.
Yeah, no, it's for
blogs
real.
And groups, and I mean,
yeah, he wrote a script that was just too Star Trek, and they didn't want that. which is why he was booted from the position to direct Star Trek 3, and why Justin Lin came in. Then they basically redid the whole movie in just like 9 months or something, and made their release date. So it was like spent like 3 months or something writing and coming up with a brand new story, and then it was like a ridiculous time frame, because they trashed the original director and his script because it was too Star Trekky. And that, again, this was Orci. All the good stuff that ever came from Orci and Kurtzman was Orci. But he wasn't a politician, which is why he's not in the quote-unquote cocktail party club circuit right now.
Yeah,
You know, Yellow
Flash,
Flash, I want to ask,
is what killed it for me.
Can I ask Yellow Flash a quick question? I think you're a phenomenal commentator on all things fandom and multiple fandoms. What do you see as the parallels, if any, between this and what happened in the comics book stuff, or comics books industry? Because that's how I originally came in here through the comics books.
The comic book industry is the same. It's all about the message, not making any money. I mean, this is why. But the difference here is you actually have an industry that's just going to replace it completely in a matter of probably years, and that's the Japanese manga market. People can still get a quality product, and for a better price. To be honest, those volumes, if you choose to buy physical, you spend $10 for like 200 pages of content.
Yeah, I noticed that. My buddy Gogo13 was recommending me a bunch of stuff that I recently picked up, dude. I couldn't for Yellow Flash. I couldn't believe the quality of per dollar. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. But they want to charge you $3.99 and up. Like DC Comics is going up. I think they're $4.99 to $5.99 now for these books, and you know, it's not even a quarter of the same amount of content that you get for a better price. That doesn't tell you any like Superman is fighting climate change now and fighting for equity.
Yeah, didn't they change the slogan like truth, justice, and the American way to like what?
It's a better world now.
Oh, wasn't there something with like equity and
That's the better world.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, completely succumbed for propaganda purposes, in other words.
Yeah, so no one's going to read that. No one's going to be into this. It's just more shitting on things that people love.
Yeah. Oh, pretty tragic stuff. So yeah, well, oh yeah, Dr. Coffinail says, truth, justice, and do better.
No,
I will just have to say, as someone that is not an American, I always really appreciated that it was truth, justice, and the American way. Because I know what that American way represented, and it was better.
Cocaine and capitalism, baby. No, but honestly, this kind of goes back to what we were saying before is, you know, everybody keeps why do they keep doing this if they're just losing money? Well, that kind of goes back to the whole like idea behind these ideals and politics is look at it. They paint it as capitalism bad, right? You're not supposed to make money. If you're making money, then you're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah, you're evil if you make money.
Yeah. So they literally they trick themselves into these mindsets. And it's the same thing also with like things like Batwoman. They can't cancel it no matter how bad it does, because if they do, we win. That's another thing, like I said last night about this whole thing with Kurtzman. If they fire his ass and he's gone, we win. So they can't do that because they cannot admit defeat in one way or another, because then they'll have to admit that they've been doing it wrong, even though they've done nothing but admit they've been wrong from the start. But no, that would be too much defeat, I believe, for them. I don't know if Andre or Yellow Flash or anybody else has anything to say to that, but I think that's a big
I want to let
too.
the Yellow Flash. What do you think about that? Do you think that that they can't admit that defeat, and it's far better to waste others' people money and keeping up the charade?
Well, I think it is about some money. I think that you're on something with that. You know, he must have got some investors to come in to help him out. I don't think they're. I think they watch what we're saying and doing for sure, but I don't know how much we actually have an impact on those kind of decisions.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have any huge impact other than many people are desperate not to be caught out for what they've actually done.
I have
think
a
it comes
question
down to
for
money.
Flash too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was all. It's about money. He must have had some coming in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that brand is so damaged. What else can they do?
Yeah,
no, they certainly can't monetize it, but they can use it for all it's worth as for propagandistic purposes.
What I wonder is how long, especially in Flash, you brought up a great point that I've discussed as well on my channel from time to like when Demon Slayer came out. You talk about manga, you talk about things like Star Trek. When you have a relative comparison like that, yeah, we can say that, well, you know, they don't care so much. They want to push the message, which I agree with in principle. But at some point, I feel like, you know, as the years go on and you can see something like, well, American comics are clearly dying. A very, and I don't even know if you can call it a slow death anymore. They're just dying. And when you have out there the comparative sales of things like manga, which, you know, I've got teenage daughters, they have, you know, tons of manga. That's all they buy. Or at least my oldest. And they really enjoy it. They don't care for American comics. You see these sales figures out there, and it's like, you can say that this is being successful all you want, but when you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know how long it's going to take when you have the same thing. It's competition sitting right next to it, and it's smoking it. And the same thing like we were just talking about with Star Trek. If they put out Playmate toys of Michael Burnham, and you have Kirk, Picard classic stuff, if they do this right next to it, and one is grossly outselling the other, at some point, I wonder how long that takes to get to that point to where it's like, well, shit, this ain't working. We can't keep doing this, because there is money out there. Somebody's going to pick it up, and we're seeing it now. I just think it's going to be a slow roll till we get to that point. And Flash, I'd mentioned earlier, it was kind of like with Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm got lucky because they had a seminal moment with Favreau coming in, making Baby Yoda, making Luke Skywalker return, where it was like, holy crap, they didn't see anywhere near this level of fan interest for the sequel trilogy with what Kennedy was fiddling with. Disney had that seminal moment. Paramount has not had that seminal moment yet with Star Trek. The comic industry is starting, I think, to wake up with that seminal moment with manga, although it's not going to be tomorrow, but I think it's coming. And I'd just be curious to get your thoughts on all that.
I think when this superhero movie trend drops and people just jump out of comic book movies, then that's the end of the American comic books. That's the only reason they keep them around. That's it. Mm. And honestly, they don't even need them around now. They have so much stuff they can mine and use anyway, but I think they kind of keep them around as just kind of like, for free storyboarding and stuff.
IP farm, basically.
Yeah. That's it, which isn't how you run something.
Well, and it also kind of goes back to what I was just saying. If they were to shut certain things down like that, then it'd be like admitting defeat. You would have the Anita Sarkeesians and all the other ones going, "Oh, we let the men win," and look at the whole reaction to Ghostbusters.
You still have that today. Even people are like going on about, I was talking about Brianna Wu, and now look what's happening.
Yeah, I was talking about Brianna Wu, who just come out freaking out about Ghostbusters or whatever it was, because you guys were talking about
who's she again? Like some blue check mark. What's she known for?
She was big in the whole Gamergate thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, so she's like another Sarkeesian
I
ally.
mostly know her from the dumb things she says, like where she said they're going to set up moon bases, government moon bases, and chuck moon rocks that will have a devastating nuclear effect when they hit. Like, she seriously said that. You can look it up.
Bro, she's crazy.
But look at this here. Brianna Wu says, "Congratulations, incels. You hated women Ghostbusters, so now you're getting children Ghostbusters with mom and dad helping. Well done."
Yeah, I'll take that over the other shit.
No shit, right? Especially if it's Egon's grandkids.
Well, there's people on both sides hating this movie. It's too serious. It's like, it doesn't have to be a comedy.
Well, that's the big misconception. And we had this debate on Mead the other night when the trailer dropped. Is like, look, Ghostbusters in and of itself is not technically a comedy. The humor comes out of the moments and the characters. Like, and that's what we said. Like, go watch the trailers for the first two Ghostbusters. Neither one of them have a bunch of big laughs in them.
Yeah, right.
Because it's hard to set up those jokes. Like some of the funniest scenes, you need the whole setup there to get it. Like the one we came up with when we were talking was the elevator scene. Like to let that whole thing play out. You can't let that whole thing play out in a trailer to be able to get all the punchlines. It just doesn't work, and you need all that setup to get there. So you can't just show that. And I think that's why they also released that, that little clip with Paul Rudd just before this, so you can say, "Here, look, see, it is going to be funny." Because this next trailer isn't going to look as funny. Because that
I think it's going to have some jokes in it.
But it will.
I'm expecting a serious movie. Like I'm going into it with that expectation. It'll have jokes, but I don't think you're going to like look at this and laugh as much as you probably did for the first movie.
Well, it's going to have the same tone as the first.
I agree with you completely. Like, and the first movie, it wasn't a comedy, and that's exactly the thing. It was like, in some sense, it's like a supernatural drama in which funny moments and funny lines are said, and there's a setup. But it's not a comedy first and foremost. That's more like accidental. And I think this is going to be exactly the same thing as that.
But when you have there was legends in that first Ghostbuster movie. They couldn't help it, but they have it'd be funny because of who was in it. Like, there's no way you can ever have that happen again. Like, I don't even think. Like, what would you have to? You'd have to get what?
Well, Paul Feig thought that he had it happen again with the 2016
Oh yeah, with his improv.
Movie. Yeah,
his improv trash.
Yeah, because he stupidly thought that the first movie, that was just like a showcase for the funniest SNL comedians at the time. That's what he stupidly thought. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, it had the best SNL comedians, but that was incidental. It wasn't to showcase their abilities to do improv, which is what he thought Ghostbusters was all about, which is what he made his remake.
No, he should have stuck with his original working title for that 2016 film. I think it would have been better.
What, bullshit?
No. Ghostbusters 2016? Yeah, no, I think the original working title was 4 Obnoxious Women Who Can't Shut the Fuck Up for 2 hours.
No, that movie's 2.5 hours long.
Doesn't everybody tune into a Ghostbusters movie for queef jokes?
That's what I think of when I think Ghostbusters.
I know.
I actually watched it because years ago when I signed up for my first Sony Movies account, like when I'd get Blu-rays or later 4K discs, you'd sign up for a Sony Movies account to pull your digital copies down. They gave you 5 movies for free. Well, one of them, and this was like 2017, this was like 6 months after the movie came out or something like that, was the 2016 Ghostbusters. And so finally one day after hearing so much, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try. I think I got through like 30 minutes. I just couldn't take it anymore. It was so painful. That was it for me.
And I mean, there's a bit of a debate going on. Yes, Ghostbusters is technically a comedy, but the thing is it's not a comedy. And I seen some people, and here's what pissed me off and this is why we made this comparison, is I seen some people going, like, this is like Happy Gilmore 2, the death of something or other, because like it's like depressing and blah, blah, blah. It's like Happy Gilmore and Ghostbusters are 2 completely different types of comedy, right? Like even Caddyshack and Ghostbusters are 2 completely different kinds of comedy, and they're from some of the same people. This Ghostbusters is the kind of comedy that it's coming out of the moments and the reactions and the characters more so than the setup of the premise. I mean, yeah, the setup of the premise is part of the joke, but only so as far as like, Frankenstein meets Abbott and Costello kind of thing. But they don't play it like that. That's the thing. See, now if they played it like that more slapsticky, which they did the 2016 film, then I could see you trying to categorize it more as a comedy. I would call it a supernatural thriller with comedic elements.
Yeah.
Basically.
I would call it a comedy in the same way The Martian is a comedy, because you will recall that was nominated to win the Golden Globe for Best Comedy or Musical Performance. So yeah,
Happy Gilmore is not a film,
comedy or otherwise.
That is debatable, I guess. I can't.
And Sander in the chat makes a comment, made an observation that the original Ghostbusters trailers didn't emphasize the humor as much as they emphasized the horror elements.
Yeah, exactly. It was filmed and lit like a horror movie. That's how
I always thought. I just thought
the first one was the first
horror movie with jokes.
We got to remember that's one of the points of contention that Bill Murray had with the second film, was how the effects team in ILM took over the film kind of, and the studio pushed more of the kiddie element, and that turned Bill off between that and the slime. Because he did not sign up for that. He signed up for a sequel to Ghostbusters, not the real Ghostbusters, the movie. And that's what it kind of turned into because of that. And I hope that's what this new film is going back to.
I think I'm going, the way I see things exactly the way Yellow Flash does. I'm going in expecting something serious, I mean, just exactly the way he said it is the way I feel that after seeing the trailers is how I'm going. And
I don't see the problem with that. I mean,
me neither.
As long as it's a good movie that doesn't shit on the movies that came before it. Like when they threw Bill Murray out a window and called him not Ghostbusters material.
Yeah.
Like I don't see the issue.
Well, and that's the other thing is Paul Feig, hardly any of the original Ghostbusters films were improvised. In fact, I think more of part 2 is improvised than the first one. As far as I know, most of that stuff is straight out the script. They kept giving Bill Murray the best lines, but it was still all in the script for the most part, from my recollection. There's only a few things that I think he improvised, and it was very, very, very few. And even then, a lot of those times, they would sit there and just do it on the set. They would just sit there, they'd talk about the scenes ahead of time, and they would already kind of pre-plan it all. So it wasn't like, they're just throwing shit out there. That's what Ghostbusters 2016 is. It's literally Paul Feig turning the camera on and going, "Go, girls!" And they would just sit there and improvise for fucking half hour, and most of it would wind up in the movie. And it's just like, how do you make a movie like this? If you watch the outtakes, that's really what I don't.
You know, the
suggest
outtakes,
anybody do it, but-
are almost indistinguishable from what actually made it
You're
in the
right.
film. I mean, they really are. If you look at
I
them,
believe it. It was so goofy that they did an entire South Park episode on this movie, and it was it was much funnier than the movie itself.
Well, everything South Park does is much funnier than anything Paul Feig has ever done. But
I would
that's
also
my
submit that anything is funnier than that particular movie. Period.
Paul Feig has
Including everything else
retroactively
Paul Feig
ruined
has done.
movies for me because I actually enjoyed Bridesmaids and The Heat, but then I
Yeah,
tried.
I
to watch,
love The Heat.
I tried to watch Bridesmaids post Ghostbusters. It's not. It loses all its luster.
Yeah,
And then I
tried that.
then I went and forgot he was in the movie Heavyweights, and I went and watched it one night on Netflix for a nostalgia trip like a couple years back, and it was not too long after Ghostbusters came out, and it's sure as shit. As soon as he shows up, because he's one of the co-writers and he's in the fucking movie.
Yeah, he was an actor back in the day.
Oh my god, it just ruined the movie for me. It was just like, oh my god, his annoying ass is in the whole fucking movie. And it's just like, ugh. And I just was like, oh, this movie's ruined for me now too. And it's just because of his attitude and how he acts. And I just hate him. I just want to punch him in his fucking smug ass face.
And on that note,
How do you
we
really
are
feel
100
about it,
likes away
Tom?
from 1,000.
What was that, Yellow Flash?
I said, how do you really feel about him?
I hate his fucking socks.
Well, then let's move on for him. We have a couple of super chats, and there is one here which actually is interesting for Paramount and stuff. Yes, Yellow Flash.
People in the chat are talking about Ghostbusters, the video game, which I do want to say is amazing. And if you've never played it, you should check it out because it really is like a Ghostbusters 3 in itself. This is the game where they all came back and voiced their characters. If you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a game that actually revitalized the movie.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
Great game.
Oh, don't put no, Tom.
Oh well, at least it's not the picture that I always put. Oh, there we have it.
Hey, I think I've used that for a thumbnail.
I'm out.
I use that picture all the time in our earlier Ghostbuster videos, specifically because of the visceral reaction.
How do you not want to punch him in the fucking face?
Me?
How does nobody not want to? Like, how is this man not
that's
punched on a daily basis?
Counting on.
Because he lives in LA, probably. That's that's all the men out there.
Well, Tom, if it's any comfort to you, or maybe it isn't, he's been punched in his face quite a lot by other men growing up, and that's why he hates men.
Good.
You're probably not wrong.
I don't condone bullying, but sometimes.
No. He even admitted it. He said that the other boys, when he was growing up, he admitted this. That's why he only did female-centric movies. He couldn't relate to other men because
if he wore those socks as a kid, I can see why.
Yeah, because when but he did. He was like wearing all of these like really colorful clothes and everything like that growing up. And I think that he was raised. There was something with his father or something. So the mother made up by being extra super protective, and the other kids, he stood out, really stood out in comparison with the other kids, and they would make fun of him even more so because of his surname that they would like mispronounce in a way that kind of like fit with his mannerisms. Look, and all of this made him hate men.
John Waters would look at him and go, no, just no, he's too gay. Like, even John Waters wouldn't have nothing to do with this guy. I guarantee it.
But but luckily he was then able to take all of that frustration and create some great female-centric movies from it. But as I was saying, we have a couple of super chats here, and there's one that actually takes us to another Paramount and Star Trek related topic, because actually they do have one fun movie coming out. Before that, though, one I can bring up on screen, Primer says, I tried watching Bridesmaids, and it has to be one of the most overrated and unfunny movies I've ever seen. I only got 20 minutes in and then shut it off. And Hyperdriver 2 also says the longest joke set up in the first Ghostbusters movie was Venkman saying, "Go get her, Ray."
Oh, there was a lot more than that. Almost all of them are long setup jokes. Like, you can't really put them in a trailer anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I think the second film tried with a couple of them, but it just, the second film's trailers were really garbage.
Yeah. But moving on from that, Dash Attack, he sent the same super chat twice.
Wow.
So I'm sure he wants our thoughts on this. And he says, Sonic 2 leaks has the GUN helicopter with SA2 on it, meaning Sonic Adventure 2 where GUN, that's gun, and Shadow were introduced. That movie is Paramount's best hope. Stay strong. So, gentlemen, how excited are you for Sonic the Hedgehog Part 2? Now remember, Part 1, that was actually a really, really cool movie, and one where the filmmakers, to their credit, actually listened to the fans and were rewarded immensely for it. Sonic 2 is also a movie that is coming from Paramount. It's not made by Paramount, but it's coming out from them. How excited are you for Sonic 2, and you think that's going to continue the good streak that the first movie started, or is this all going to go to hell this time around? And also hearing Sonic Adventure 2 comparisons, does that mean anything to you? Do you know what the hell a GUN helicopter is? I don't, because I'm a Sega Mega Drive guy, and I don't know what this Sonic Adventure 2 thing is.
I've played Sonic Adventure 2 a long time ago. It's a fun game. I mean, there's scenes of him running through the city and stuff in that game. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the statements on that. But if they're going, Sonic Adventure 2 was fun. So, I mean, as long as they follow the formula that they did for the first one and not, release god-awful designs and say things are for the fans like they did. And that movie was there were so many nods in that movie to the old games that I loved it.
Yeah, I like that movie too. I mean, I was fearing the worst just by it being set on Earth, but I was blown away by the execution.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, somebody's pointing out, Mecha J says it's a Dreamcast game, and it's true, but it was also, they ported it to everything. I don't think it'll be woke. I think it'll be good, fun, and yeah, as long as they do that, I mean, that's
I think they have their
for.
heads on. Their heads are screwed on right, as evidenced by what happened in the first go round. So,
well, I think it helps that Sega probably has more time to concentrate on these things since they're not really in the console race anymore, and Sonic being one of their biggest properties, they're going to want to do it right. Because let's be real, if Paramount was the ones in control, they'd have just made the movie. They'd have been like, fuck those people, we don't care. We already spent X amount of money on this. We're not starting over. Right?
Did you see Sonic's original design? I think the guy who designed him in the first place is like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is this old
Yeah,
design?
he was really criticizing it. He was like, what the hell is, it was really funny reaction. He was like really heartbroken.
It was a very polite criticism of it, but it was really like, because the Japanese are very polite.
Yeah.
But if you put it through a translator, it's basically like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I think they did a lot to set the second movie up in the first, and like you guys have all said, I was blown away by the fact that unlike, and it's sad that we have to say that this is something to be proud of these days in Hollywood, like this should be the norm, but that they actually stopped and said, hey, you know what? The fans have spoken on this, and they really don't like this, in this case, Sonic's design. We're going to change it. And they did it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like that should be common sense, but Hollywood there's nothing common or sensical about Hollywood anymore, at least not by and large. So I think the fact that they did that, and it seems like they set up from Earth, now we're going to move into Sonic World, where Jim Carrey's character gets banished at the end, and he obviously makes the physiological change. He starts looking more like the original character, the bad guy from the game. I thought was cool. So I think they did a good job. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
You know what disturbed me the most about that? First and foremost, kudos to them for actually making the change, and the audience loved them for it. But remember the response from the rest of the industry?
Yeah.
They were like,
yeah.
oh my God, we caved into the fans. This is the end of the world. They actually listened. Shocked, horrid. Can't do this.
Same thing with Snyder Cut and anything else. Yeah, anytime the fans are actually appeased, and this is why I keep bringing up to people, like, this is why Kurtzman keeps getting fucking 5-year deals, guys. Like, because they hate us and everything we fucking stand for. They don't want classic Trek. They don't want the old school style. They want it new and quote unquote cool. They want the kids, the hip kids involved. But they just aren't realizing that nobody's going to be involved because they don't care. Because anybody who was a fan of Star Trek was already a fan of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And new fans discover it, but they don't discover it through a new thing usually. It's through something else or through a friend, through a family member.
Yeah, or through a father or an uncle or some random thing, and then they go back to the original and take the whole thing. That's typically how it is. I don't know of many franchises where a ton of people come in for the new thing, for the reboot, and then they trash what was before. That generally doesn't happen. I certainly can't think of any example where that did happen.
Where it's been successful anyway.
Yeah, or where it's been sustainable. I mean, I can think of things where the fan base has been fractured because there's different iterations that they like. You absolutely have that. But where there's been a reboot and suddenly something has gotten a mass popular appeal, with the old fans just quietly leaving stage left, I've never seen that.
The only time I can think of anything like this happening, and the only reason it probably worked is because it wasn't because of some political movement, was when 1989 Batman came out. Because to that point, for the most part, to the general audience, Adam West was Batman.
Right. Yeah, but again, that was restoring something else.
Exactly.
That was a miscommunication or misperception, really.
Well, at the same time, you could argue Tim Burton did bring a lot of new to the table because there's a lot of elements in that Batman that just aren't Batman. But
yeah, most of them actually, but yeah.
But regardless, my point is that's one of the few times where I can think of where somebody took something that was seen as something completely different and they revamped it into something completely new in a way with an asterisk. But the thing is the reason why Batman worked is because Tim Burton still kept the elements of Batman that make Batman Batman, right? Like all those things are still there. You know, it wasn't kind of like, you know, a lot of the stuff we're seeing now. And one of the grand examples I can think of was that Lone Ranger remake. My God, was that thing, you know, were you ever planning on having the actual Lone Ranger in your Lone Ranger movie for one? And
is that the Johnny Depp one?
Not when you got
I never saw it.
I liked it.
I heard it was
Andre likes it, but there's no accounting for taste sometimes.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I think it's a really underrated movie.
I feel like it was one of the biggest travesties in fucking cinematic history. And not only that, it's a movie that I watched that just sorely didn't understand what the fuck it was trying to be. Because you go from slapstick humor
it
with
is
Johnny
a tonal
Depp
mess, I will give it
to a bad guy gutting a guy technically off screen, but you literally hear his guts splatter and hit the ground in a PG-13 Disney movie, no less. To unbelievable action scenes where a train is like toppling over itself and crap. Like that movie.
That's some of the most pleasing action ever seen on film, though. And I also kind of liked Johnny Depp's character in it, and some of his jokes were like really on the money.
He was in a completely different movie, Andre.
Yeah, I know, but I liked the movie he was in. Apart from the bookend, I didn't like that. That was just tragic. But like the main movie, that was a good one. But we're about to lose Mike here in a couple of minutes. So before we do, I just wanted to hear the reactions on something else that has dropped this today, actually, namely the trailer for Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or whatever the hell it was called. And Mike, I know that you saw that trailer. Share your feelings. Or to begin with, what did you think of the first movie? And how excited are you for the next one?
Well, you know, I liked it. And I unlike Gary from the Rock, I can't say I'm the world's largest Spider-Man universe fan. I'm not. I was primarily grew up a DC guy. And so I probably don't have the, quote, proper perspective on Venom or Spider-Man from a hardcore. Yeah, I want to say that because a lot of times when people criticize Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars, if they're not coming from a place of organic appreciation, I have a problem with it. But I will tell you this is that I enjoyed this trailer. I enjoyed the first movie. In fact, I own it. I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times. And then I just saw the trailer this morning a couple of times. I really like it a lot. I'm looking forward to Woody Harrelson in this movie. I'm I don't know what to say about the whole thing of like, Venom being portrayed. The comics that I did own and read from Venom is that he sure as heck not this guy that's in the movie that I saw, the first movie.
Yeah, no, that he is not.
So he's sure as heck not that guy, because
no,
the
far
Venom,
from it.
the Spider-Man comics that I did read and own did not at all portray Venom like however he's coming out in this movie. I never saw any of the comedic elements. I sure as heck never saw him as some kind of alternative good guy, bad guy. I don't know, however he's being
Anti-hero.
That's changed throughout the years.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just saying that's not the experience that I had from the comics that I read. But I really love the first movie. I really enjoyed it a lot, so much that I buy it, and I don't buy a lot of movies, none like Tom. And the movies I do buy now, Tom, they're all going to be 4K.
Man.
And because I've now been lured to the 4K side. Andre, I'm a believer now.
Yeah,
Good.
I don't
Believe it or not, there's only a few, and usually they're newer movies where I would say I'll just go with the regular Blu-ray if you don't have to upgrade, or if you've got 3D, go that way.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna buy groceries. I didn't buy groceries. I'm gonna hold off on my grocery budget for 2 weeks. And that's how I got the 4K player on Sunday when you sent me to Best Buy.
Mike,
what? I need to lose weight anyway. Anyway, back to the trailer. The trailer is phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Watched it twice. Loved it. Looking forward to Woody Harrelson. I think it's going to be great.
Willie Woodward chimes in and says, you guys see the new Venom trailer? Well, that's what we're talking about right now. Does it look like a CGI vomit to you? Kurtzman's extended contract is a troll job to the fans, right? Well, it's funny because I kind of mentioned that as a plausibility. And I think right there is where I'll jump in with the CGI part. Like, yeah, this trailer was way too much CGI. Now, I didn't hate the original film. I actually liked it a little bit more than I thought I would. I'm looking forward to this one, but I'm in the camp that I just wish my Venom was in Spider-Man. Yellow Flash, did you get a chance to see this trailer yet?
Yeah, I watched it today. I watched it this morning. I liked it. I liked the first one. We'll see. Is it PG-13?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously, like Carnage, man. I don't like the idea of a PG-13 Carnage. It really should be R-rated, but I'll give it a chance. I like the first one, so I'll watch it and see how it is. But a PG-13 Carnage, man, this movie should be R-rated, and he should just be slicing everybody to pieces.
Yeah, to me, that was kind of the other thing. Is that's
what he does. He just murders and murders.
Yeah. It felt a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Tamed down, maybe. And like the goofy cuckiness of Eddie Brock was like amped up in this one too. It felt like, at least from the trailer. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for the best.
He was like even more of like the antsy freak than he was in the previous movie. Again, like this is Tom Hardy being the Tom Hardiest Tom Hardy has ever been, more so than it's Eddie Brock of the comics. But as someone that actually did read those comics, now I'm not up to date on all of the newer stuff, but I did read that entire run by Michelini in which Venom was first introduced. Now, that's one of the greatest comic book runs of all time, for one thing. But and even with that, as different as this is, I had great fun with the first Venom movie. And I look greatly forward to this one. Actually, I look more forward to Venom Let There Be Carnage than I do anything else coming from Marvel. How sad is that? I mean, I used to love the MCU, contrary to what newer people to the channel think. And now we are at the place where I'm like, oh, thank God that Sony still has like a stake here and they can do Venom on their own without Marvel. Although there is, of course, some backdoor involvement and stuff like that. But as it is right now, I'm looking more forward to this movie than anything else coming from the Marvel brand. What a sad indictment is that on the MCU.
Wow, that's fascinating that you feel that way, Andre. Wow. Huh.
Says the Venom trailer was amazing. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat.
Yeah, I had loads of fun watching it.
Yeah, it was a decent trailer.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to give it a chance because I like the first one, but I just wish it was R-rated.
Yeah.
I wish it was R-rated. Because
I wish that too. I mean, it would have been sweet if it was. If they could like go all the way, if they could like take it to Deadpool levels, that would have been ideal. Yeah.
And I still feel the first one should have been R-rated, but it's still. I don't hate. I don't want to. I'm just nitpicking. I like the first one, but
Right.
I'd love for this to be R, so we can see him just brutalize everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm kind of in the same boat too, because I feel like the only reason it wound up being PG-13 was because Rothman wanted the plausibility of the and probably more so Feige at some point of crossing him over with Spider-Man, but like in the end it was like they're still going to be separate probably, so why didn't you just go all out? And Tom Hardy is the one who basically spilled the beans that there was an R-rated cut, even though everybody's like, oh, it was never going to be R-rated. We're like, bullshit, y'all said it a year ago. You can try and revise it all you want, but we still know the truth. So I'm with you on that. Like, if you're not going to attach it to Spider-Man, go all out, make it R-rated.
Yeah, just do it up.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just think there's a certain level of discomfort with having these superhero movies, which is effectively what this belongs to as an R-rated film. Deadpool was great, but Deadpool was really lightning in a bottle.
You think so?
I think they have, you put that R rating on there, it makes these movie studios nervous unless it fits in a very certain genre. And I agree with you. I'd rather see this as a brutally violent Mortal Kombat style R-rated movie.
Oh hell, I watched the hell out of that.
Yeah, I'll
give you.
I'm not saying they're right. I just think they're being tepid about it as a business decision.
I'll give you that. In a lot of cases, you don't necessarily need it, but the Snyder cut did well being R-rated. Even though I don't know, that was kind of a tame R. Well, I don't know, not really, but
but it was see how this
HBO
Max. I
mean, but we'll see how the Suicide Squad does this weekend too.
Is that R-rated?
That is R-rated.
That is R-rated, yeah.
And it's been getting not just good critical review, which can be off-putting, but I've talked to some people that we kind of all know, and they have seen it and they liked it a lot.
I saw Geeks and Gamers had a review up. I was going to go watch that later.
Yeah,
it's all positive.
And again, that one's more niche too, so maybe they feel like they can, a studio.
No, I get what you're saying here.
Yeah,
But Marajo, you keep saying stuff like this, we're gonna have words, buddy.
Tom is a full house. I believe it.
We're gonna have it out.
I'm seeing Suicide Squad Friday.
I'll watch it as soon as it drops on Warner Plus or whatever.
Yeah, it comes out Friday, right? I'm gonna go watch it too. I think it looks fun.
Yeah,
and
Tom, I believe it's pronounced Aferim.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a question I've gotten DMs more than anything in the last couple of weeks. As I've told people, I was not surprised we got the Venom trailer today because I did get tipped off we might. And I've been telling people, we're not getting a Spider-Man trailer until Venom probably comes out.
Yeah.
Because Sony is not going to want to take any attention off of Venom. And as far as I know, Disney probably has little to any say on when it's dropped. Because Sony still has a lot of control over the distribution aspect of things. And Sony's not going to want to take any attention away from Venom. We'll probably get a Spider-Man trailer when Venom comes out, which is the middle of September, I think. September.
If they're smart, they'll pack it into the theater. Like, you got to go see this movie.
They might. You're not wrong,
exactly.
Yellow Flash.
Yeah.
They might pull like a Dune thing like they just recently did, where, you get a version of it online. But if you want to see like the full extended trailer, you got to go see Venom in IMAX or something like that. You're probably right. I wouldn't be surprised. But no, that I wouldn't. And not only that, the way things have been happening lately, I said this in the beginning of the show, they're not going to be releasing a lot of trailers much more than a month or two before a movie comes out right now. There's no reason to.
Speaking of Spider-Man, are you as shocked as I am that they've been able to stop any leaks, like official stuff of Toby and Andrew in that movie?
So far, yes, considering. But that may also mean that a lot of the stuff will come in like the second wave of toys and stuff.
And guys, I'm just doing some reading here, and there's still a chance that this movie could get an R rating. Like they've been vague.
It hasn't been rated yet.
It hasn't been rated
not
yet,
according to that trailer.
Yeah,
does
but
it say
I think
PG-13 in it, or does it say not yet rated? Because I'm reading some rumors that they might pull out an R rating for it. Now, I don't believe that till I see it, but they haven't.
I don't think Sony would chance that.
What is there to chance? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that they maybe see right now that maybe there isn't that much to chance, and this isn't the most expensive movie in the world.
No, we could luck out.
Yeah.
But the trailer to me didn't seem very R-rated.
Yeah, no, but then Well, we'll just have to. But here's like the thing: a trailer can be cut a million different ways.
Oh, I understand. But let's be real. Okay, here's one thing I will say that I do like about the charm of the first movie. It felt like a 90s comic book movie. And there's probably a reason for that.
It did.
Yeah, because the script was written then, at least the
Exactly.
outline for it.
And the things that I see out of this, the charms that I see out of this, the things that I'm looking forward to, that's what I'm seeing is that same kind of tone carried over. Like, look at Woody Harrelson when he's all suited up in like the shaved hair and in the nice like looking kind of fancy suit and shit. That looks like a something straight out of a 90s New Line Cinema fucking comic book movie. Like I would picture he would have dressed the same way if he was playing this part in 1999. You know what I mean? Like, it would have.
The only
looked
difference is
exactly
the
same.
CGI will hold up in a few more years.
Exactly. Yeah. The only difference is the CGI would be a little like otherwise. That's yeah. Go ahead.
I bought the Blade 4K. Oh God.
Yeah, there's some shots that do not
the
hold
ending.
up.
That CGI, like all the way into the ending, when that he becomes the blood god. It all holds up, and then you get to that CGI.
Well, the skulls don't. Did you notice the skulls when he like slashes them real quick and they turn into nothing but bones?
Yeah, they weren't great looking, but that fucking CGI at the end. Oh my God.
Yeah, that always looked bad.
And there's many effects, even some relatively recent. Well, relatively, it's been like decades now. But like for instance, like in the first original Spider-Man movies by Sony. There were like some of the effect shots there as Spider-Man that looked like PlayStation 2 effects, even at the time when it was new. Can't even imagine what they must look like in 4K now.
That movie doesn't have a good 4K transfer.
Not exactly.
Still, yeah.
Well, the thing with Spider-Man, which is funny, is there's some effects in there that are CGI Spider-Man, and they fooled me. But then there's other times, like you said, Andre, where they're just horrid. But I think this could be fun. I don't hold this like to any kind of standard as like a major Avengers film anyway. So if I go into this and I have fun,
I'm just expecting a fun time from it. And the only thing that disappoints me is that Woody Harrelson has a different haircut in the actual movie than what we were promised in the teaser or the end credits teaser at the end of the previous movie. Remember there, if you that there he
but it looks like his hair changes like 3-4 times throughout the film.
It does. I just resaw the trailer again as we started. I just had it up without sound, and it does look like it depends on whether he's out on the street or whether he's in the jail or whether or not it looks like he's fighting and transforming. So,
well, I kind of liked his Sideshow Bob look or whatever it was from.
The one bit I did like though is when Venom's like, "Oh no, he's one of the red ones." He's just like, nope, I'm out. That was the one bit that probably made me laugh the most. Right there.
So I like that. I really like the interaction between Eddie and or Tom Hardy being the Tom Hardiest Tom Hardy has ever been.
Well, it allows
and
him
the Venom symbiote in the first movie. Also, that's what rescued the whole movie, and they seem to jack that up even more here, which I'm surprisingly fine with.
Yeah, I basically picture if they would have made this movie in the 90s, it probably would have been like Bruce Campbell or something like that.
It's really more.
Bruce Campbell would have been amazing in this, like a 90s movie with this starring Bruce Campbell. My God, how awesome would that not be?
Yeah, and the feel that I'm getting from the trailers is that it's really, it's a very much two characters and not one character becoming another character. It's not. It doesn't have that. I mean, it really feels like Venom and him they're going back and forth, and they're really two different people. It's not like a Superman Clark Kent thing. I mean, it's very pronounced, incredibly well pronounced.
Yeah. People are getting behind Bruce Campbell as well. Yeah, he would have made a great Venom back in the day.
Yeah, he would have.
Especially with and that's what I got with like the slapsticky kind of thing they're doing in this trailer. Is like, oh, this feels very Bruce Campbell. Like almost like Hardy's almost like channeling his inner Bruce Campbell there for a bit.
He's getting too busy. He's getting ready. He's too busy getting ready for Doctor Strange too.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Well, I got to run, guys. You guys have a great rest of the show. Mike. I got to jump on a call for work in 8 minutes. So you guys have a great show. Thanks for inviting me on. Yellow Flash, huge fan of yours, and love your channel, love all your videos, and you do great work.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, I'm
Pleasure
going to
to-
hear about this for the next week, by the way, Yellow Flash. He's like,
And,
oh my
Valiant,
God, I got to meet Yellow Flash. I got to meet Yellow Flash. He's gonna,
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be all fanboying tomorrow on Mead.
I'm not kidding either. I'm
Later,
not
Valiant.
kidding.
Bye, Andre. See you guys later.
Bye,
See you
Mike.
later.
Yeah, all right,
Love it,
take
Mike.
care.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
man.
That's awesome.
Almost like Andre when he.
Yeah, well, for real, that's like one of my
I'm
things.
not kidding. When you
the-
drop a video, did you see Yellow Flash's video? It's like one of the first things he'll say, stuff like that. It's like, oh, I love his stuff. He's always talking about it. It's like, I know Yellow Flash. You know that, right? Like,
Yeah, I've been watching Flash's stuff daily now for at least 6 months.
he stayed up late that one night to be on your show, Flash. You know that, right? Like real late. It was like 2-3 in the morning for him.
What, the one time I was on the Yellow
Yeah.
Flash? What the hell do you mean 2-3? It was 4. Thank you very much.
4 in the morning, whatever. Well, I don't know the time difference anymore. It's usually either 6 or 8 hours. I can never tell what the stupid time changes.
Yeah, you never
Yeah,
know
it's
how
like
long those Saturday night streams are going to go. Never know. It depends on how much we drink and what we're talking about.
It was much better that time I came on in the morning when it was like, I just woke up and like, oh, you're still on. I can jump on.
We were just finishing up though. So like everybody's like, oh, here's Andre. I'll like,
Oh, yeah.
all awake and
revving to go.
ready to
Yeah.
go.
And we're all like winding down.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. If you guys, Saturday nights is a place to be for Yellow Flash. His show is great. I've been on there a few times. I mean, you guys always cover the week's news and break it down really well. So yeah, if you guys have not checked out Yellow Flash, especially on his Saturday night streams, I can't recommend it enough. But yeah, Andre will highly recommend all his videos all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, we also recommend Valiant Renegade, up and coming YouTuber.
Of course.
Good financial background like myself, which just emphasizes the takes and the content even more. So yeah, we're lucky to have some great guests joining us today. But we also have a great audience that's been here in the chat, interacting, sending super chats. We're a little bit behind on those super chats, so I'm going to catch up on some of those super chats right now. Cultured Casino says, in reference to him and Paulie watching Picard, our suffering will be your gain. Poor Paulie.
You better talk to Paulie. It sounds like Paulie's backing out. So.
Yeah, he's going to need a morale boost. And then Eber B Man says for $4.99, stop hate watching this shit. Apathy is the way. Because if you hate something means you still care. Stop caring. Edgy number 1 says, look at the VCBS stock price. The investors are not impressed. Valiant, have you followed the Viacom CBS share price? Has that taken some kind of tumble today?
Let me pull it up.
I'll just move on while you look that up and let me know when you have it. Wintrell says, Tom is correct. They are antagonizing to create fodder against you guys. He-Man looks like one big psyop against the fandom. Please take care. Granwasu42 says for €10, hail Andre and Tom. How could a human being with a brain give Kurtzman a new contract? Tax write-offs or money laundering? The only ones profiting from this is Kurtzman. Disgusting.
Well, you're not wrong about that part.
Yeah, just one thing here. And Tim Scorpion says, any investors in chat, please sell your CBS stock. And with that, Valiant, did you find the share price and what's happened to it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's just kind of having a quiet day. It's floating around $41 a share.
Didn't help it.
Yeah, it's
it's still overpriced.
Well, we'll see. Obviously doing what I do, I can't really get into stock analysis too deeply, just because of the way my industry works. I don't want to make a compliance no on air. So what I would say is, for me, just like with Disney coming up next week on August, I think it's 12th, is their earnings report, which I always like to look at to see what kind of information we get, how the parks are doing, how the subscribership is doing. Viacom CBS is their earnings report is coming up on August 5th. So just in a few days here, 3 days. So, people are going to be looking to see what is Paramount Plus doing. Anybody that is a streaming company right now, the big thing is how many subs, what's the growth, I mean, that's what so many people are looking at right now, which in and of itself is okay. But, there's more behind the numbers, like Andre and Tom, you and I have talked about this before with, revenue per user, stuff like that. That's what's going to be curious to see what happens here with Viacom.
Well, I got at least something to posit here for especially Andre and you, Valiant, and people have brought this up, and I feel like there may be a precedence for this. There's been rumors floating around that Paramount may be up for sale, or at least they're considering options. Could this Kurtzman deal have something to do with kind of like how Andre will know specifically what I'm talking about, and you should too, Valiant, where back with the whole Star Wars deal, George was just disgusted with their first offer because he felt like they were lowballing him with a $3.5 billion offer for Star Wars. And Bob had to explain to him, it's like, look, you've got nothing in production. You've got a cartoon and a few video games and a toy line, and that's it. Like, you have no movies coming out. You have, no Indiana Jones coming, nothing's on the table or getting, so could this just be like them making sure that things are still kind of running and functioning so that if Paramount does sell, it's worth that much more? Not just that Star Trek is going to make it worth that much more, but like all of their major franchises are in some sort of development, or, TMNT's got the Seth Rogen thing going on.
Yes.
SpongeBob just had a movie come out. And I think there's even some more rumblings about some revival there as well, if not more specials or something like that. I've heard, Paramount Plus has pretty much been digging into a lot of their Nickelodeon shows and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised there if more announcements come out. So what do you guys think on that? Do you think that could be a possibility that they're just trying to make the company, look good for a possible sale even? And then that's part of the reasoning behind this deal with Kurtzman. Because I don't know if it would entail all of CBS and Paramount or just Paramount, because that's the thing. The Kurtzman deal has more to do with CBS. So,
Yellow. Let's see what Yellow Flash has to say first about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Paramount. Amazon paid a hell of a lot of money for MGM, and they really don't have that much to offer. So I wonder,
right.
What would that kind of? Would anybody Disney wouldn't be able to buy them. Who's going to buy them?
It's funny you bring up Amazon, because I could see Amazon buying them.
Yeah.
Or Apple.
Or Apple.
Apple, yeah, maybe. But would they? How much? Because MGM, what did MGM sell for?
13 billion? Or was it 9?
13? I think it was 9.
I think it was like a certain amount in cash and certain amount. Like, it was one of those funky deals that I don't remember the exact.
Yeah, one of the mixed cash and shareholder deals, but I don't recall.
It kind of sets a standard, So 19 for them, I would say you could probably get at least 60 then for Paramount. As much as their new shit sucks, 9. They have a tremendous back catalog.
That's exactly it. It's the catalog.
Yeah, I think MGM was only for like single digits plus. It went into the double digits just because of the finance deal. But no, like, I think you're right on the button, Yellow Flash. I think if I was going to put a value on Paramount, it'd be about 60 billion. I think it's about, because they're worth less than Fox. And the Fox deal was what, 70, 80 billion, I think it was.
Around 80, I think.
It was a lot
with cash and stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Fox is a lot healthier than Paramount.
See, I was more surprised that Amazon jumped on MGM instead of Apple, because Apple had been hovering heavily. Because I knew somebody who kind of worked tangentially with the whole Bond deal, because that's bounced around left and right, because that was going to be on Paramount Plus, and now it's looking more like it's going to be on Amazon once the theatrical window hits 45 days or something like that. So that's even bounced around a little bit, because there was even it looked like Paramount was going to make a big deal with them. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot of moving and grooving going on right now, but I think a lot of these companies that don't have a big company behind them already probably will by the end of the next 5 years. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
But Valiant, your thoughts on the first question there? Could all of these stuff be like, make sure they have things geared up and production geared up to entice potential buyers and drive up the price?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we take the theory at face value that they are trying to sell, then yes, I'd be the same example I would give anybody out there to put this in more sense. If you own a piece of commercial real estate and you're trying to sell it, you're going to get a lot more for it if it's leased and under contract, where it's got a source of revenue coming in, as opposed to just being a piece of property. There's still value there for the property, but with a contract, hey, there's a 10-year lease on this property. It's got guaranteed income. It's going to be worth a ton more. So yeah, if you've got stuff in the works at Paramount, you'll be able to get a lot more for it theoretically, if that's the case. Now, to the second question, as far as like Amazon and stuff, and who could buy it, who could be a potential buyer, I keep bringing up Apple because Amazon just bought MGM. So they were looking for content they needed to flesh out. They spent $10 billion on it or whatever that wound up being. I keep going back to Apple because Apple is the one right now that has, frankly, one of the biggest subscriber bases. You don't think about it that way because it's bundled in with their other services, but that Apple TV is out there. They have original programming. They don't have a lot of external content. Apple's also sitting on, about $100 billion in cash right now on hand. They're going to go buy somebody at some point. They're going to want to flesh out that offering they have. And if Paramount really wants to spin it off, and we hear, like Culture has talked about this, where would Viacom, CBS, and Comcast merge? Well, you have a problem when you have two broadcast networks. The FCC ain't going to let that fly. So they're going to have to spin off pieces. So in theory, if they're really looking at doing that, I could see why they are doing what they're doing, like Tom said.
Andre?
Yeah, no, I agree. I do not know that it's necessarily something that's done exclusively to drive up the price, but to me, it's like a mutually beneficial thing. If they do get bought up, all the commitments they have and everything that's there geared up for production is going to drive up the price. And if no buyer comes along, well, at least they'll be set for content. They don't figure out that it's shit content, but at least it's content. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm willing to agree with you, Victor B. Apple would probably be more. They'd go after Sony, I think.
Before they about that, Sony, there's a lot more than just entertainment under their belt.
Well, Sony would keep the video game part. They would not part with that. What they would do is get rid of their entertainment division, which would mean Sony Pictures, which includes Columbia, TriStar, all their independent ones. And then the television side of things is very lucrative and a huge catalog of stuff. And that's where I could see Apple, because that's what they need. Like Apple TV or Apple Plus TV, whatever the fuck it's called. Apple as a base has a lot of subscribers because of people having Apple products, but Apple, their streaming service doesn't really have the type of content that the other ones do. Like they need something to drive it. And if they picked up the Sony catalog, especially with the television stuff, because there's stuff like Seinfeld in there and a few other things that would really probably help. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix and Sony make some kind of deal, because they've been real hunky-dory lately too.
I just don't see Sony selling it off. I mean, might they lease it? I mean, because it makes them a lot lot of money, and plus,
to a point, yes.
Yeah, but Sony's $125 billion market cap company. Viacom CBS is $25 billion. So it's a lot easier. Apple could just walk in and just grab the whole company if they really wanted to, or make an offer and pay almost the whole damn thing in cash. Now, will they do that?
From my understanding, is for years they've seen the entertainment side of things as more of a burden, and their video game division is their real bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. Their TVs do very well too.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is not really affected by the entertainment side. Like they'd continue to do the electronics and the video game division, and to them it may be more lucrative to sell off their entertainment division and just license out their properties. Because this is why Sony bought them in the first place, is because Sony got into DVD and Blu-ray. Like that's the only reason they really got it, because they were looking at the push of the next format war that's why in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was, when they made this deal, they bought Columbia. That's why they did it. They're like, well, we make the VCRs, now we want the stuff that you play, that you put in them. Same kind of concept went into when they moved into DVD and Blu-ray and video games. And that's why the PlayStation 3 really pushed Blu-ray. Like that was the thing. Most people, when you bought a PS3, it didn't come with a game. It came with Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I
And,
remember that.
Yeah, so that
The
was a
terrible
thing.
move. That system
Yeah.
lost so much money until the end when they finally got that price down. Remember that thing came out? It was like $600. And that's for the time.
Yeah.
That it came out. That was a lot of money.
Well, that's the thing is they take a lot of loss on the machines, but what they do make money on is the discs,
Software.
the games.
Yeah.
And so like that's where they were seeing that as a, this is what we want to get into. Well, now the entertainment side of things is kind of almost so separate from everything else that I would not be surprised within the next few years. Sony's one of the next ones to really just kind of up and sell everything and just stick to the electronics and the video game side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sony tried the experiment with let's try to make money on the front end with the console sale, and it just didn't work. That's why, I mean, for years, for everybody out there watching, just so you understand, if you buy PS3, PS4, Switch, whatever, the Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Xbox, they're selling those things either at cost or at a loss. And that's, because that machine does not cost. I mean, you buy a $300 machine, it probably costs them $300 to build that sucker. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
they're
that's what
making
I'm
money on
saying.
the games.
Yeah, they were always losing a lot of money on these machines in the early rounds.
Yeah.
But hello, how you doing, Umbrella Guy?
Hey, Tuck.
Hey.
Be there.
But yeah, let's get into some of these super chats again. Sorry about that tangent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're all about, isn't it? And then Wes Moody Webcast says Star Trek didn't off itself. I had to censor that a little bit for the algorithm. And Mexican Iron Man, this was from before he joined us, said for $20, guys, worry not. I shall console myself by immediately launching Operation Poly and Cultured Casino Star Trek Picard Watchfest. I can't wait to produce this. I'm on it. Yeah, and we can't wait either. We just have to convince Paulie because he's probably gotten an idea of what he's in for. So, yeah. Well, that's going to be good. We all need that consolation. And Lost for Words says for £5, Tom is so right. They have turned into the rage watch mentality. Normies aren't watching. It's just fans who tune in hoping their franchise isn't ruined. Hoping against hope.
Yeah.
Pablo Papa says for $5. How much of a cut does Don Abrams get of Kurtzman's Trek shekels? I do not know exactly, but like in situations like that, I do believe the price is like around 31 silver coins, something like that. And Templar Asimov says, hey guys, do you think Kurtzman's contract renewal is the fans' Kobayashi Maru?
Interesting way of putting it.
I think it's more like it's CBS's Kobayashi Maru. They just don't know it yet.
So Flash, did you have to get going now, or did you have a few more minutes yet?
I gotta take off. I gotta make a thumbnail.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you have to hear this last super chat though, because we have this this little YouTuber called Yellow Flash 2 who says, "Get ready, because Kathleen Kennedy is next to get an extension."
I think
You
she
think
is.
so?
Yep, she'll be back.
The only way I think that she might not right now is just because of her age. I think she's at that point where she's ready to just sit back and collect a bunch of awards.
She's already doing that.
No, I know, and that's why I'm saying I think that's just her next step. Once Indy 5 is done, because that's her baby. Like that's where she started. That's where she'll probably want to end her major career. But you could be right, Yellow Flash. You never know.
We'll know in 3 months, dude.
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too.
I hope you are too.
I hope so too. I think we all
I wouldn't
do.
be surprised if we hear by the end of the week, Valiant, with the way shit's going.
I'm on the other side, Flash, just because I know probably hadn't seen much of my channel, but I've been pretty consistent. I'm reading the tea leaves here. I think she'll have a very, very graceful, retirement. She's not going to get
She'll be
renewed.
celebrated like the best thing to have at the film
Lifetime
industry
Achievement
ever.
Award on the stage of the Oscars next year. Watch.
Yeah.
Fade in.
Fade out.
Yeah, let's see. I hope you're right. I'd love to see her get the fuck out.
Yeah, that would be something.
But thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Good to meet you,
Yeah,
Flash.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone throw a like up.
Yeah, and the link to Yellow Flash's channel is of course in the description. So everyone do check that out. There you'll also find a link to Valiant Renegades in addition to his most recent Star Trek video, which is also well worth checking out. So with that, Yellow Flash, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah,
Take care,
all right,
brother.
take care. And we're going to go back to some more of these super chats because we do have something of a backlog right now. Can't bring anyone up on screen, so we're back to classics where you just have to pay attention.
Yes.
Yes, and next one is Templar. No, we got that one already. Nietzschevish says, don't self-harm yourself with Kurtzman Star Trek. Yeah, no one should do that. And Richard Berg says for $5, you know, I grew up in apartheid South Africa, and TNG gave me a view of what the future could be. Mankind united. But now, yeah, it's ironic. The new Star Trek by Kurtzman seems to want to head back to like that whole apartheid thing, just with the reverse of who was getting the bad end of the stick there. So yeah, you certainly came from the right or the wrong place, depending on how you choose to look at it. Primer says for $10, the hackery expressed by Kurtzman and Jar Jar Abrams is fucking infuriating. I think being able to write and direct Star Trek and Star Wars is the opportunity of a lifetime. They treat it like toilet paper. It kind of do. And Richard Berg says for another $5, it's as though they're trying to undermine their own agenda. I mean, this show was breaching the gap between races already, and now it's widening them. Yeah, exactly. But here's like the thing, though. It's a new agenda now. Like the traditional track, that was about erasing the barriers. This one wants to reinstall them. So it's a different agenda. Keep in mind, this is a different track. It's made by different people for different motives. Michael MacLeod says, if they're in need of funding, they're going to be disappointed. Yeah, unless they already worked out a deal with someone that doesn't look for a return on their investment, which we covered already. Darius Minchhausen sent us a popcorn super sticker, and Wild Rose sent us a poop super sticker. Alan Bennett says, where the hell is Emma Watson in all of this? Wasn't she bought in to fix this? Yes, you are right. Emma Watson was brought in to fix all this. It would appear that she failed.
Well, I think that's where the brand manager is going to come into play. Because she really didn't say, I mean, she was like, her whole statement was Star Trek as a brand has a ceiling. And we're not going to go above that ceiling anymore. So basically what she was saying is that the reins are going to be pulled in. So Kurtzman has this deal, but that doesn't mean he's going to be able to have the money he's been spending to do it. That's going to all depend on what kind of investments he can bring in, more or less. And yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if the next few years of Trek don't look a lot cheaper than they have.
Yeah. Yeah, they certainly can't afford to blow the kind of money they've been blowing so far. And then Master Clockwork said, there's so much bullshit here. Some could start a garden. Yeah, kind of. Mecha J says, I've been reading the replies on Twitter to the Kurtzman articles, and the overall opinion is that no one is happy about this announcement. Yeah, I'm not surprised, because I don't think that Kurtzman really has that many real fans. Yeah, sure, you have like some stans on Twitter. I know, I have heard there is at least one YouTuber who's like really supportive and has admitted to receiving goodie bags for that support. But beyond that, I don't see much in the way of like actual supporters. And Clive Calculator says the only way might be deep fake Shatner and Nimoy episodes. And Aaron Rogers says for $5, has anybody compared the numbers for TNG era reruns on BBC America, meaning Voyager, Deep Space Nine, TNG, to all the 3 Paramount Plus shows combined? If someone has done that comparison, I haven't heard of it, and if If no one has, I hope they feel inspired and let us know the results. Leon Donnelly says for $14.99 Australian dollars, thanks so much. I really hope that when Picard Season 2 comes out, that Q could reset all this garbage. I know it won't happen, but that could be a convenient way to fix things. Yeah, Q is just about the best hope right about now. And Richard Berg says for another $10, well, thank you. Admiral Shatner steals a new Picard ship, slinks around the sun, and stops the Romulan supernova. Everything fixed. I'd watch the hell out of that. I mean, Richard, kudos to you. You just solved everything. That's how you do it. Etienne Falardeau says for $5 Canadian, no kids want any toys from modern franchises or revamped older franchises like He-Man, Star Trek, Star Wars. They blame video games, but we know the truth. Cyber Soldier wonders, if Viacom CBS goes bankrupt, who buys Star Trek? Well, whoever's the highest bidder in the takeover what remains of the estate, that's who. I know that both Seth MacFarlane and Elon Musk have both expressed interest in doing that. So we'll see if they would be the highest bidders. And Rob Slevin says for $9, well, as memory serves, the Federation starship is completely annihilated at least once per season. So if that's the focus. And then I have to refresh to get to the next round of Super Chats here. Give me 1 second.
I think we're getting close to being caught up.
You can think again because well,
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, we have a few more to go through.
Okay.
B. Jordan says for $10, similar to the Omega Directive, the true fans need a Kurtzman directive. When his involvement is detected, it's avoided at all costs. Danger boys are deployed and is unacknowledged. Yeah, that would be something. Nephilim says for $4.99. Any one of these executives have the power to start a civil war, a la Lucasfilm. Is there any chance that CBS/Paramount Plus has a Favreau and Filoni duo that can compete?
No.
Well, if they haven't, we haven't heard, and I don't think so. I don't think that they have that. I honestly don't think that there is anyone left in their operation that knows anything about Star Trek. Because here's the thing to remember. CBS never did anything with Star Trek. It's a complete happenstance and accident that they got it in the corporate split. The people that knew and loved Star Trek, they were all at Paramount. And then due to some corporate bullcrap, they suddenly lost it. It was taken from them and given to CBS that didn't know what the hell it was or what to do with it. And they haven't recruited anyone that really knows Star Trek. They've had plenty of opportunity, but they have chosen not to. So, and everyone that does know it, they're being actively kept out of it. So, no, there's no hope for any civil war there, I think. The closest thing we would have gotten was like Akiva Goldsman versus Kurtzman, and Kurtzman appears to have come out top on that one.
Yeah, and that's probably because Akiva has tons of other shit to worry about.
Yeah.
It's not worth the fight for him.
Yeah. And Lonnie Holcomb says, or their profit is not found in dollars, but other deleterious effects. And yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying, that people funding this or some of the people funding this aren't necessarily interested in a dollar return on their investment. And then Dash Attack reiterated his previous Sonic 2 Super Chat, which we already discussed in detail, so thanks again for that. Douglas Marsh said for $2, Trek is dead. Hail the Orville. Yeah, Orville is the real Star Trek right now. Joey Hollywood Films, wasn't Robert Orsi a 9/11 truther? No, I believe that was Kurtzman. And you can totally see that influence in everything that came later in his own stuff, that we were the real enemy all along. So I do believe that Kurtzman was more the truther than Orsi. Orsi might have been as well, for all I know, but Kurtzman definitely was, or is. Johnny Succo sent a dinosaur super sticker, and ActionCom says, is Les Moonves off the hook? No, Les Moonves was the one that destroyed Star Trek to begin with. He's the one that cancelled Enterprise, and he's the one that was responsible for Secret Hideout coming in and usurping Star Trek Discovery from Brian Fuller in the first place. So no, Les Moonves is never off the hook. You may be partially off the hook for some of that very orchestrated attacks against him, but his crimes against Star Trek are beyond words, and he'll never be off the hook for that. Nightwish Fan 1991 just says one word. Why? I believe he speaks for us all. Johnny Succo sent a little doggy super sticker. And Smurf Killer 46. Wow, that's one name there.
I love that name.
Yeah, says for 9, and he's number 46. So then, there's at least 45 more Smurf Killers. You know what? We had like a fun song in Norway in like the 80s when I was growing up. It was like a children's song. It was called Step on a Smurf. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you guys.
Gargamel?
Actually, yes, it was sung like Gargamel, and you could hear so you actually got it in one there, and you could hear the Smurfs moaning and crying in the background as they were being stepped on.
Wow!
And this was released on a children's cassette for kids.
Wow!
I'll see if I can find it for you afterwards. It's in Norwegian.
Right up there with the
gist of it.
Right up there with the Rammstein video you played a few weeks ago for Mandy with "I Hate Children."
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
It was. It was.
Yeah, that's such an awesome video. So for those that wonder what Valiant is talking about right now, go check out Midnight's Edge After Dark, because they're just for kids and shits and giggles. We had Mandy react to the latest solo single from the frontman of Rammstein, all German, and the song is called Ich hasse Kinder, meaning I hate children, and it's all downhill from there. Yeah, that was good times.
It was good.
Then. But anyway, we didn't get past the name. Smurf Killer 46, who has a great name. He said for $9.99, love the discussion. Rest in peace, Star Trek. I am 47. What manga should I only collect my comics from the 80s and 90s? So, manga all the way for Smurf Killer 46. And then EVA Unit 4A says for $5, my hands were cold, stomach shaking, when I learned from Critical Drinker. Welp, back to bringing 6905 Star Trek on Netflix and buying Eagle Moss. #GWGB. I have no idea what that is, but we all share the pain. And Crystal Mages TV says for £5. New Ghostbusters trailer gave me the vibes of The Explorers and other great 80s kids movies like Goonies that were massive. Brianna Wu is clueless. STR Red Wolf says Ghostbusters 1 and 2 is sci-fi humor in the same sense of the webcomic Schlock Mercenary. Sci-fi as its majority, with humor added in equal amounts. Planar Aspect also chimes in, there is nothing funny about Gozer, the Destructor. Primer says, I tried watching Bridesmaids, and it has to be one of the most overrated and unfunny movies I've ever seen. I've only got 20 minutes in, then shut it off. Yeah, no, we got this one already, yeah. And Hypergiver 2 said the longest joke set up in the first Ghostbusters was when Venkman was saying, go get her, Ray. And John Doe says, Andre, you might be interested in Sonic Robo Blast 2, and Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart. Really fun mods for Doom. Doom mods, you say? Okay, well, that's interesting. But are they on the Sega Mega Drive? And Rog H sent us a thumbs up super sticker. And Michael Strelitz says, here's a fan £5 and the woke do not spend. Media is alive, but profits is low. Well, thank you. We appreciate you sending that to us instead of to them. So it's all for a good cause. So thanks so much. And sent us a diamond super sticker. And Willie Woodward said, you guys see the new Venom trailer? And yeah, we saw it, and most of us kind of liked it. Also chimed in that the Venom trailer was amazing. Michael Strelitz also says, what about the new Ghostbusters? Heard it's good. Well, the trailer certainly is. The movie, well, let's hope it's good. I hope and trust it will be. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Stephanie Janishek Smuggler's Cantina points out Ghostbusters is almost its own genre. And Joe Pat 87 says for $4.99, Hollywood's business plan is basically clapping your hands to bring Tinkerbell back to life. If you just believe. But it's no match for reality. It's a good point right there. And Hyperguyver 2 says, hey Tom, did you see the pre-order for the TMNT/MMPR Ranger form Louis, Blue Ranger, and Donnie, Black Ranger, is live?
No, I didn't.
I hope you understood what the hell I said there.
Mighty
I
Morphin
didn't.
Power Ranger crossover, something or other, I'm assuming. I'll have to take a look. Power Rangers was a bit past my time, but I'll see what it looks like. I mean, yeah, I didn't even hear about that, so thanks for the heads up.
And then Christopher Neal says Star Trek is dead. And then, Tom, you have to introduce the one whose name only you can say.
Rod Thunderheart.
He says, hail Andre, Tom, and Valiant Renegade. I'm quite looking forward to Let There Be Carnage. Rumors, Tom Holland cameo. Will Venom finally get his white spider on chest? I don't know, but with a warming in the relationship between Marvel and Sony, it's certainly on the table. But I wouldn't expect any such appearances till another movie down the line.
It already got leaked that they're introducing a black version of the Spider-Man suit already in Part 3. So
yeah,
I wouldn't get my hopes up, because the rumor is that Kevin Feige isn't too keen on this version of Venom anyway. So if he wants to do it, the Spider-Verse thing is probably his way of potentially introducing another version of Venom anyway. So who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. And then Michael Miller said for 14 South African rands, if Playmate are not happy, will the contract be reviewed? Well, yeah, of course. And remember what happened with McFarlane Toys. They dropped out. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here, or what I anticipate, is that if sales don't live up to expectations, Playmates are likely going to drop out early. As a toy company, they are not going to lock themselves in for a long run that isn't sustainable. They don't do that in the toy industry, at least not to my awareness. Yeah. And let's see, with that, we are not quite caught up yet, because Dash D's just said, and hey, Valiant, followed you on Twitter. Haven't got the check yet, though, just saying.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get my Twitter check mark. I seriously doubt that. Or the check in the mail, for that matter.
I think he was insinuating that you paid him to follow you.
Yeah.
And with that, we are caught
up. So I want to thank Valiant. I want to thank Yellow Flash and Mike, of course, for joining us today. I'm sharing a link in the chat. That is Gary at Nerdrotic is going live here in a few minutes. So head on over and Mead Raid or ME Raid. Tell him Midnight's Edge sent you. Fezman comes in with a last-minute super chat, though, and asks, is CBS Paramount being held hostage?
Well, no, they only have the Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, I keep telling people, they're oblivious. They don't care. They don't notice. Yeah. They don't know any better. Whatever you want to put in there. I know people keep bringing up Sherry Redstone, but hasn't she been almost practically legally blocked from almost every avenue available to do almost everything, anything, anyway. So I'm sure Star Trek is one of the least of her worries at this point. The company is in complete disarray. So, and I know there's other news to get into, but we'll probably get into that more on Mead tomorrow night on Midnight's Edge After Dark. And the main channel, we'll talk about it some more Wednesday. We've got some other stuff we'll get into that we didn't quite get into today. And I'm sure the ladies will get into some of it tonight on toxic femininity as well. Yes. So check back for that at, I believe it's 8 Central. We start the show. So see you there. So Valiant, thank you for your time. And Andre, if there's anything else you want to say before people head out.
Well, yeah, Natasha just found the song I was talking about stomping on the Smurf. So
there you go.
Go check that out. Oh, yeah, it was by Trond-Viggo Torgersen. And that guy, he actually started out a medical doctor. And then he went from there, from being like a host on Norwegian children's TV, to being more of an entertainer in his own right. But he's a medical doctor. So, yeah, that's who's stomping on the Smurfs for the delight of children everywhere.
So with that, don't forget to tell Gary we sent you, and it's time for Koalas in the Rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given, koala